What a tough day. What a tough weekend. What a tough wee hour of the morning as we watch Florida State do the unthinkable and go out there and lose to Stanford with their backup quarterback in. I guess I say do the unthinkable. It's not unthinkable if you've watched this team play and you've watched the recent runs, negative as they are, that Mike Norvell has put together. It is hard when you think out loud to yourself, that's his fourth four-game losing streak? Whoa, that's a lot of them. He's only been here 6 years. That's a lot of them. So that's frustrating. I think everybody was somewhat taken aback today by the statement from FSU and Michael Alford, which brings us to a much bigger picture conversation, and that's the whole thing. It's a big picture conversation that we have to have. And I think that was also revealed when that statement was released. For those that did not see the statement, did not read the statement, I owe it to our radio listeners who have not seen it to read it before we comment on it. So I will do just that. This was from Florida State Vice President and Director of Athletics, Michael Alford. Florida State football benefits from unmatched, passionate support from the entire FSU family, and the commitment to our football program is unwavering. We rightfully have high expectations in everything we do to represent Florida State in the manner that built our reputation as one of college football's best programs, cultivating an extraordinary group of supporters nationally and globally. We embrace those expectations while also sharing the deep disappointment when results on the field are short of that standard. As we continue to move forward this season, our comprehensive assessment of the football program will be completed at season's end. Meanwhile, we are fully committed to helping Coach Norvell and the 2025 Seminoles strongly rebound in the coming weeks. All right, so in essence, we're not firing Mike today. You were expecting to hear me announce that Mike has been fired today. We're not firing Mike today. We've got to get our ducks in a row. We got to figure this out. We got to figure out not only how to pay him, but possibly to restructure our entire football program, athletics program. Now, here's where I come in. That's me talking about what Mike Alford is likely thinking, amongst other people. And here's where I come in. This is Jeff saying that that's all well and good, but this is now untenable and will turn toxic. So what will happen while they figure this out and the power struggle behind the scenes occurs, which is what I think is happening currently, what you will then see is obviously a really ugly situation unfold, such as how about the opening of this football-only facility and the ribbon cutting and these kids getting an opportunity to go in and see this state-of-the-art, unique, and truly beautiful facility. They then, in turn, will celebrate that as one would. They'll be excited by that. What do kids do in this day and age when they're excited about anything? They take a picture of it and they share. They post on their social media outlets. That's what they do. That's what they do with banal items of the day. Hey, look, it's macaroni and cheese. So you know what they're going to do when they walk into that place and they're surrounded by that opulence. And they're excited about that opportunity, as they should be, as anybody would be. But you know what's going to be directly underneath that picture, at that post? Yeah, you all don't deserve to be in there. None of you should be in a place that should be held for winners and people who don't lose 4 games in a row. We've been on the internet, right? You ever read the things that are said underneath tweets and message boards and the comment section? How's that going to go for these kids when they share those photos? How's that going to go for almost anybody associated with Florida State when they produce, say, post anything that's positive about that program currently, when it is now as divisive and absolutely toxic as it could possibly be? It won't go well, and that's unfortunate. Unfortunate for them. It's unfortunate the situation is as it is, but it most certainly is. And I would say that I don't know that you'd be able to avoid a lot of that. The timing's bad if you fired Mike Norvell. He's not going to be your long-term head coach. It won't matter. He's done. I'm kind of almost bored with that conversation. He's done. He's gone, whether that's in an hour from now or several games from now. He's done. He's not your long-term answer. That has been answered for you. You already know that. Now I'm much more intrigued by who else is caught up in the shift and the change in the athletics department and where this is headed. Because I think most assuredly this now involves Michael Alford, the man who issued the statement, and whether or not he will be allowed to make the next decision as to who comes in here and coaches this program and to how it's structured. To me, there is growing evidence to suggest he will not have that say. He will not be the man that gets to make that decision. And I think that might speak to why there is a delay. First and foremost, we could point to the obvious things. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. This program is not, say, Texas A&M or Notre Dame, in which the funds are unlimited. They are not. So first we have to be honest with ourselves about that aspect of it. They're not broke, but they don't have unlimited funds to where they could just call 2 or 3 of the multi-billionaire donors and say, hey, got to get this guy out of here. This is embarrassing. Can you stroke us that check, please? Not the same situation at Florida State as it is, say, Michigan. All right? So there's that. But if they really wanted to, and I think they do, they could make this work. They could make it so that this announcement happens sooner rather than later, and they begin that process. But I think that when you have an internal power struggle and that there are money people who are rather despondent about the job Michael Alford's doing, and there is some frustration that begins to mount amongst some of the coaches at Florida State University of various programs as to Michael Alford's view of the future of college football, NIL, and the raising of funds to run these programs. Then you get into a more complicated set of circumstances that would account for the sort of delay that we're having now. On the surface, the knee-jerk reaction, and it's not knee-jerk in a negative connotation. It's knee-jerk as in this would make sense. On the surface, you fired him the second the clock struck 0 and you lost to Stanford and their backup quarterback. On the surface, you would say, we're done here. The man has lost 9 straight ACC games. Say it out loud. All right, you would say to yourself that, my God, that's not possible. That's not true. Does Jeff have that right? Has he lost 9 straight ACC games? He has. And it is unimaginable at a place like Florida State. Even as the talent gets dispersed more evenly, there are distinct advantages that Florida State has over programs like, say, Virginia or Pitt or certainly Stanford. And it's hard to wrap your mind around the idea that you would lose that many ACC games in a row without there being a complete disconnect between players and coach, which most assuredly it would appear there is. So I don't blame all of you for the anger and the sadness and the frustration and the confusion, the disgust that you feel today. It's everywhere. It's all around us. It's in this community today. If you're a Florida State supporter, fan, booster, alumni, any sort of connection to this great school, you are devastated today that we find ourselves right back here having the same conversation we were having just a year ago, and a conversation we didn't want to have again. But we have to have the conversation, and now it's a matter of time. It's not a matter of when it's going to happen. It's a matter of time. They told you the end of the year. When you talk about having a comprehensive assessment of what? You don't have to, split the atom here. My man can't win an ACC game. Can't do it anymore. I mean, there have been lots of data points that suggest he can no longer win an ACC game. What am I supposed to do? I don't need to assess the hows and whys. That's the reality. I do have to assess the hows and whys if I'm going to restructure my athletic program, and I'm going to look at this as a way to move into the future at a pivotal time in college football where the landscape is ever changing. We are about 5 years away from the next big tumult in college football, which will be the Big Ten's television contract and the next opportunity for movement to occur. And some people believe the next big moment that may very well lead to what Tom and I have had a ongoing discussion about, which is collectively bargained contracts, players, employees, that kind of thing that they have sought to avoid up until this point. And for a lot of reasons, some of those reasons are kind of boring. Some of those are really interesting. But I care more about this athletic program and the way it presents itself over the next 3 years, because if your ducks aren't in a row by 2028, then you're kind of up against it. You got to get to where you're, somewhat house in order. The beauty of the modern era of college football right now is, and this is also perhaps why it's equally as frustrating to be as bad as we are right now, is that if you look around at this conference, or you look at college football, we are in an era in which Indiana is the number 2 ranked team in the country, and the head coach chose to stay in Bloomington rather than entertain the idea of possibly going to Penn State or Florida. We are in an era in which Georgia Tech is in the top 10 and Vanderbilt is number 10. We are in an era where more teams can compete than ever before. Again, the disbursement of talent, the inability to stockpile elite talent, even at the upper echelon elite programs, where if you are a very, very good offensive tackle, but you're behind another really, really good offensive tackle, and you look to be foreseeably behind said tackle for the next 2 years, somebody comes and plucks you and takes you and hires you and gives you money and you leave. So the depth for the upper echelon programs is not what it once was. And we're seeing that. We're seeing about how it is on Saturdays. The number 6 team and the number 15 team, not that big a difference anymore. Not that big a difference anymore. Even modern powerhouses like Georgia lack the quality depth that they once enjoyed. You see those players leave, and if there are a few injuries, they're imminently gettable. All of a sudden you realize they're a little bit suspect. They're not the juggernaut that you picture when you see the red and the black and the gray and the G, and you think, oh, well, that's a dominant defense. Is it? Mm-mm. They're good. They fight hard. They play hard. They're well coached. They're all those things, but they're not as deep as they once were. And that really goes for almost every program. The exception might be Ohio State, which just once in a while, you just wonder, my goodness gracious, are they ever going to be as fallible as they need to be so that others can have a turn atop the Big Ten? I know Michigan did. We all know what happened there. But how do you want to position yourself? Who's making the decisions? I think to some degree, Mike Norvell not being fired yesterday, tells you that maybe Michael Alford isn't the only one making those decisions. Let's put it that way for now. I think that's what that says to you.
The hard part to digest, however, would be that he put in the statement, or somebody directed him to put in the statement, that it's at season's end. That can't be more tone deaf. No. Just no. We talked about this yesterday on Bellying Up, and I know a lot of you out there watched it or listened to it. So you're going to put Mike Norvell in the tunnel before the game.
It's a toughie.
The banners separate with the Florida State logo. The fireworks go into the sky. It's a 7:30 kick. It'll be dark out under the lights.
I'm glad it'll be dark.
Here come the Noles. Right. Really? You're going to do that. You're going to have the moment before the game starts. And your head coach, Mike Norvell. Buddy, that is an incredibly toxic situation. And, of course, it's not a noon kick. You're giving everybody all day who's going to be in the stands because it's homecoming. So you'll have some extra butts in the seats. You're giving them all day to lube up for that moment? Like, really?
Gotta lube up for more than that moment, buddy.
It is going to be so ugly, and they will be like sheep. They will follow what happened last weekend in Gainesville. You saw it. There's an extra point being kicked. Mississippi State's kicking it, and the stands in Florida are yelling, "Fire Billy,"
which they were already going to do.
Right.
It was
So you're going to put that on this fan base. You're going to put that in this building.
Yeah, you are.
Because of indecision. Like, if they just said without the at season's end part, I'd be okay with the statement on its face saying, all right, clearly they're making sure that everything is aligned for whatever negotiated buyouts are, like all these little details that are necessary in order to move forward, put the next interim staff in place to handle business for the next set of games. Okay, I could buy that, but it's the at season's end thing.
Well, clearly they're trying to buy time.
Unbelievable, because now that goes from, because if they didn't say that, I don't think Mike Norvell, I don't think there's a chance, not a 1% chance, he coaches the Wake game. But they did say that, so no, I think that's going to happen. I think there's a shot that Mike Norvell runs out of the tunnel against Wake Forest on Bobby Bowden Field. That is a disgrace. That cannot happen, because all you're doing is setting up for the toxicity that you're talking about, not just on social media, but in the locker room, with the boosters, with the collective, in the stands, on television. Their commentators are going to have to acknowledge it. People are going to yell something about Mike. Hopefully it doesn't have profanity in it.
Oh, it will.
That's a disgrace. You cannot put that on us.
The university is not in a good position right now, and that's why I tell you that there are going to be people in positions of power who help make these decisions, who stroke these checks, who are taking a more thorough look at what to do moving forward to position Florida State to be in a much better situation, not next year, but the year after, the year after, and the year after. And I think that listen, this is very easy. I brought this up once before. I'm going to bring it up again here. When you go back into that stadium, if you go back into that stadium, a lot of people will not in the immediate future, just until things change. But let's say you're going, right? You bought your season tickets, you paid, you ponied up, and all that stuff. You're going to go, right? All right. When you do, or if you get an opportunity to take a tour, schedule a tour, whatever it is, walk around those places, in and around campus, in that stadium, basketball facility, look at the locker rooms, go everywhere, right? When you do that, you'll see exactly the people I'm talking about that have to make the decision for Alford's future as well as Norvell's future. And my guess is a couple of things are in play here. First of all, I would tell you that I'm not so sure those people aren't absolutely exhausted by the requests, the repeated requests to stroke more checks, to give more money than they've already given. They feel as if they have bailed out this athletic department and people within that structure several times. And now they're going to be asked to do it again, to fire somebody and bring somebody else in whom you're going to have to pay good money to. Now, maybe not the asinine contracts we've seen over the last umpteenth years in college football, in which these universities are bent over a barrel and feel like they're held hostage by the Jimmy Sextons of the world. I think we're reaching a place where we're at a crossroads where more schools will say, no, I'm just going to give that money to the players. Get me a really good X's and O's coach. Let's start to put together something that resembles that of the NFL, in which the GM and his staff of scouts and others that we hire absolutely scout players and provide the talent and figure out money allocation within the roster and let the coaches coach. And we'll run this behind the scenes. We'll get you the guard. We'll get you the tackle. We'll get you the safety. We'll get you the quarterback. We're going to have plenty of money because we're not spending $10 million a year on the coach. But if that's the route you want to go, the athletic director has to understand that too. And if he doesn't see that that's the future, then you've got a fight on your hands between those that do and those that think that it's going to be policed in the manner that Michael Alford has said he thinks it will be policed in 1 or 2 years, which I don't buy. If you talk to the big-time players in this field, the big-time coaches who are tasked with running these huge programs and winning at the highest level, they'll tell you there's no chance in hell that these sorts of NIL reviews for fair market value are going to hold up.
You know what the problem is with 1 or 2 years from now? It's not today.
I know.
What you can do today is very different than what you can do 1 or 2 years from now.
Yeah,
so act today. Yeah, look at NIL go. Take a look at the staff directory if you can find it. You think there's enough people? Enough manpower?
There's like 6 people.
And do you think your competitors respect the manpower of NIL go?
No.
Well, if they don't, then we can't.
That's agreed upon. Well, you're speaking to the choir.
Of course, but it's a year or two away, if at best.
So my point about walking around that stadium and the people who make the decisions, okay? You go look. I've brought it up before. Go look at the Mike Harrells, the Jim Owens, the Brian Murphys, the Langford family, the Peter Collins. Go look at all of these guys. Brian Williams and others. These are the folks that are going to have to come together and say, this is what I want. This is what we got to do. Here's how I think we should structure it. Here's how we're going to protect ourselves. Let's put the plan in place. Let's figure out how best to position ourselves so that by 2028, 2029, we're in a good position to take advantage of Florida State, who we are, the cachet of 50-plus years of kicking ass in college football. Stop stumbling around in the darkness. We got to get ourselves in place, and it doesn't involve firing Mike Norvell today so that the barbarians at the gate feel better.
But here's the thing, and I saw in the chat somebody said, well, Mike wouldn't negotiate the buyout, so why would you even think that? Well, here's the thing. If he wouldn't, and if that's not a part of what's on the table right now, then what are we waiting on?
Well,
because you can do that. That's a fixed cost. You know what that cost is? It's spelled out in the language.
Yeah.
All right? Mm-hmm. So you know what that cost is. It'll be offset somewhat by the next thing he takes.
Yeah, there's a lot offset language in the contract, which, by the way, we can confirm. We looked at the contract, including the extension. There is offset language in the contract.
Okay, so you're going to save a couple of bucks. It might be like a 10% rebate. That's what you're hoping for there at most on the total of the contract. All right, even if it's more, that's a bonus. So if there's nothing to be done here in that regard, then what are you waiting for? I understand what you're saying, that sometimes you got to let the barbarians go nuts for a little bit longer because you're looking at the bigger picture.
Yes.
Because there's stuff inside the gate that needs to be taken care of.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. But that doesn't mean you need to put in a statement at season's end, because that's asinine. That is stupid. That is galactically dumb. And if they do that, that'll be the worst thing this athletic department has ever done in my lifetime. And I'll tell you what, we've seen some weird stuff and some terrible things over the years.
Do you think they did that? I mean, that's a misstep, one of many. But do you think they did that just to buy time? They had to get a statement out. It almost sounds like they just spoke into the chat GPT.
Well, this is where I'm looking at it. If you're trying to negotiate a different buyout with Mike, if you say at season's end, that gives you leverage on time that you can use against that camp, right? Because now I'm not setting my own deadline. We got it. We got 6 weeks. We can sit here. You want to sit here and you want to talk? Otherwise, if you know what the cost is, I know what the cost is of what it's going to look like for our brand and what it's going to be for the boosters and the NIL collective if you let him run through the tunnel against Wake. And that supersedes what are we doing? And what is the practice going to look like with this guy for the next 2 weeks?
This is not good.
What is the coaches meeting and all hands meeting going to look like with this guy for the next 2 weeks?
Well, they had one this morning. I don't know how it went, but they certainly did have one this morning.
I hope it went better than the locker room handled the thing reportedly after Saturday's game.
Well, hell, in game they didn't handle it well either. You had players just brushing past the coach, ignoring him completely. Yeah.
So what are we doing, man?
We're watching a power struggle.
Isn't he outside of that struggle? Wouldn't that be the common denominator in a power struggle? Well, he's gone, so you know what? We can agree on that. Let's discuss the future after we let him go. Because all you're doing is you're inviting more of a spotlight by waiting.
Well, what I think is interesting, and I know we got to go to break. I'm sure this is going to be one of many segments that gets awfully wordy today, but I don't think Michael Alford got to make that decision. I think that's what we learned today. I don't believe that he got to make the decision. I believe it's out of his hands. So take that for what it's worth and do with that what you will. If that is true, that he does not have a say in this, not a meaningful say in this, well, then you'd ask yourself, why is he in the position that he's in?
And what was that long paragraph you just released? Right? Like, why'd you even bother if that's the case?
You would have probably been better off to some degree waiting another 24 hours and figuring this out before releasing a statement.
It's the season's end thing, man. That's where read the room. For God's sake. Just don't put that sentence in there and you're fine.
Seems hasty.
At season's end? What, 5 days before the signing period? Yeah, great idea.
Feels desperate, doesn't it?
It feels not thought out.
Yeah. It feels desperate, hasty, not thought out. It feels like a program that's a mess. Feels like the kind of statement that would come out of a program that is absolute in shambles. Yeah, if you're watching from afar and you have no vested interest in Florida State whatsoever, you're just watching a program that you know on the national – we all love college football. We see the Iowas of the world or the Michigan States of the world, and we look around and we're like, oh, there's so-and-so. Look at this. They're having a good year this year, and so-and-so, whatever. They're all principal players in the Big Dance, the movie that we watch every year, right? When you see something like that happen elsewhere, you're very easily able to comprehend the kind of mess that's going on at Name Your Program, where we watched them all go through it before.
Yeah, if I was in Norman and I'm reading that online, I go, oh, that's a really good statement. In 2008, when the signing day was in February, when there wasn't a portal,
I don't even think you would
recruit your own roster. If you said that in 2008, no problem, because you can assess at the end of the year. There's plenty of lead up time for bowl games and signing days. That's fine.
I think you wouldn't even think that far ahead. You'd read that statement and go, golly, what a mess in Tallahassee.
You're like, well, I'd say
turn the page.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, they're going to fire him, but they got time to go get their replacement. You don't have the time. Well, signing day is 4 days. What are you going to do? Announce the new head coach while he's still coaching?
There is a conversation to be had about that as well. Shannon Young has made a move to be part of the nation's largest mortgage company. You guys know that with Cross Country Mortgage. I mention them all the time because of the great job and work Shannon's done with FSU alumni, and non-alumni for that matter, anybody really just looking for a home and needing that loan. His unwavering commitment will help you get that loan. Now in 7 states, Florida, Georgia, Bama, Tennessee, Texas, and the Carolinas. Better rates, better options, stronger support, faster response. Loansforknowles.com. Learn more about Shannon. He's a great guy, hard worker, really smart, gets the job done. Loansforknowles.com.
It's where you raise your kids, where friends become family, where every corner has a story worth telling. It's your neighborhood. At ABC 27, we share those stories, bringing you news that connects communities, builds pride, and reminds us we're part of something bigger. We are ABC 27. In your neighborhood.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
What makes Paul's Termite and Pest Control the best in North Florida?
It's our core values, of course, and they happen to spell Paul's.
P, protecting you and your pets from pests and your property from termites. A, accept personal responsibility. At Paul's, we realize it's up to us to get things right and strive to do more than's expected.
U, uphold company values. Those values include treating others with respect and understanding we represent Paul's Pest Control on and off the clock.
L, look the part. As representatives of this great company, we will always make sure that our image matches the character of Paul's.
S, support the team. Every job we do is a total team effort to create a supportive workplace.
P, protecting you, your pets, and your property. A, accept personal responsibility. U, uphold company values. L, look the part. S, support the team. Paul's core values. They make us the best.
For the elimination of termites and other pests.
And a greener lawn, too.
Call Paul's. We'll get them all.
Go custom with your window coverings with help from Budget Blinds of Tallahassee. Budget Blinds brings their showroom to your home with dozens of color and pattern choices. Just tell them what you love and they'll make it happen. From designing custom draperies and Roman shades to color matching your blinds and shutters.
I'm Gary, the local owner of Budget Blinds Tallahassee, where you get beautiful style and expert service for any budget. Call 668-4835 for a free consultation online at budgetblinds.com/Tallahassee.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark.construction.com. We conquer all peaks. We fix those darn leaks. Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark. T-SparkConstruction.com.
License number CCC 1331204. Hey, are you ready to raise your glass? Because on Saturday, October 25th, the Thomasville Brew Fest is back, bigger and better than ever. General admission to the beer garden opens at 1 with the fun flowing till 5. Want in early? Let's snag a VIP ticket for exclusive early access to unlimited tastings. And don't miss the Vendor Village starting at 11. Open to everyone. No ticket required for that. This year, enjoy even more breweries than last year. Live music, food trucks, and shopping with local small businesses. VIP ticket holders get the ultimate experience. Early tastings, swag bags packed with goodies, and catered food from local favorites. Tickets are now on sale at Eventbrite. Just search Thomasville Brewfest. And don't forget, use the code RADIO at checkout to save. Thomasville Brewfest. Sip, savor, and celebrate local flavor.
From the championship stage to coaching change and everything in between, Warchant.com remains your home for the best FSU football coverage in the business. Brutally honest columns and features, market-leading multimedia presence across video and podcast, the largest FSU fan community with a staff that combines for over 100 years of experience covering the Noles. When change comes, Warchant.com is your home for analysis from every angle. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Sign up today.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
You know, by the way, that you're not having to deal with much of this if we aren't responsible for having to pay the 6th most expensive buyout in the country. You know, you put yourself in a really tough position, and I understand where that goes. I understand what people would say. You know, I don't. I think that moving forward, that the model for how you run your program and what the coach makes and those sorts of things, it's all going to change. And I think it's a interesting time to be at this crossroads. And I think that goes into it as well. Be curious to see. Everybody's gonna throw names at you with who you should get. You know, the bottom line is we know that there are no sure things right now that are out there. There's not. I mean, I'll give you an example. So Florida, I would guess, will go after Lane. We'll see if Lane takes that job or not. Other guys that you'll hear mentioned are, Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri, who I think is a really good football coach, and I'm told would want that job, would really like that job. But when we talk about, a lot of coaches know the same thing. A lot of coaches know the X's and O's and can sit there on a whiteboard and show you a million different ways from Sunday how much about football they know. And they all largely know the same things. And they're all egomaniacs. They're all really weird people. They're all these things, right? So much of the successes that you see are an awful lot about fit, an awful lot about timing, an awful lot about who they surround themselves with. But also, obviously, in this day and age, what you have resources-wise to work with. And what I'm curious about now moving forward, as opposed to just recycling the same names anytime this coaching conundrum comes up. Like, I haven't looked in the chat, but I know that no matter what, because this is the way it's been for weeks, when you start talking about change at the helm at Florida State, people will throw the idea of bringing Jimbo Fisher back. All right, it's the first thing they do, and I'm sure that's on message boards everywhere. They'll throw out the idea of bringing Dion in. They'll throw in, some sexy name from the NFL, or formerly of the NFL, like John Gruden or something like that, right? If you check my inbox, you'll see all of that, right? And I don't believe those are serious conversations. But I know that no matter who you suggest, especially if they're active coaches in college football right now, they're going to take a good long look at the resources that are available and the athletic director that they're going to work for. If the athletic director is perceived to be a guy on shaky ground, thin ice, dead man walking, that's not an attractive job for agents to send their client to.
That's an important thing to say there, because it's the agent who would be doing the vetting on that level.
Correct.
They're the ones who are engaged in that conversation. Like John Gruden, I don't think so. Who's the athletic director? I don't think he cares.
I also don't think he's a serious candidate, and I don't think he's coaching college football.
But insert serious Drinkwitz.
Yeah.
Okay, if he's the one in the discussion, he might know the guy because he's been to a convention or something, but that's on the agent to look and make a recommendation on that.
Correct.
I would think, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the agent that's advising his coach, his client, is going to take a good look at the structure, the resources, the people that are going to empower his coach, his client, to maximize his ability at the next location. Yeah, he'll work out a salary arrangement that's agreed upon, but they're going to look at, can I succeed here long term? You know, you look at a guy like Elko right now who's killing it at Texas A&M. Elko's a guy that, upon taking that job, realized A&M had the resources, had the means, but also he liked the way that was structured, that he would have as much power as he does, and that there would be the ability long-term to win a national championship there and provide the edge in NIL, roster management, and building, right? You have to be on the same page as the biggest boosters, the biggest contributors in NIL, you know, in our case, the Battle's in. Like, all of this needs to be in lockstep. You've got to have everybody pulling in the same direction. The president, the athletic director, the billionaires that stroke the $10 million annual checks that they give to a program, they all got to be on the same page about the way it should look, the way it should operate, and how the structure is put together. So whether that is, we bring in a GM for the future and we've got this coach, you coach, we'll get you the players. Here's the NIL money. This is what we're going to do in terms of roster management. We've got scouts in place because the GM oftentimes isn't the same guy that you want assessing the future of a kid who's 17 years old, but rather somebody who understands what football talent looks like. You bring those people in to your organization. They're under that umbrella. They report to the GM just the way that scouts do in the NFL, right? So, hey, there's a kid down in South Florida. He fits perfectly. Got a good family, solid structure, also runs a 4.4. I think we should take a good long look at him because his floor is such that if we sink money in and he's not great, we're not going to have any problems in the locker room. He's solid as it gets. His ceiling is phenomenal because he's athletically gifted. I think it's a safe investment. Let's bring him in. There's a need at the position. The floor is high. If he becomes what we think he can become in 2 years, he's a star. That's the money we invest on him. He's our next receiver offer. And you're going to do it position by position, and you're going to have the organization understanding how we operate, all pulling in the same direction. I don't feel like Florida State has that in place currently. I think they're seeking to put that in place. I think there's a real question as to what that looks like and who's in charge of it.
Takes you back to the statement that was issued today, which I'd have more respect for that statement if it said that Mike Norvell is going to be the coach this year and next. I would be vomiting. But this statement today is limbo. That's the one thing you wish to avoid if you are trying to offer something up in that position is clarity. Did this make the issue clearer or more murky, that statement? Very simple question. And that would be in the PR firm what I would say before we issue it. Hey, guys, are we sure that these 7 sentences that we're about to release are going to clarify our position for the fan base, for the boosters? Or is it going to make it harder for them to understand what's going on? Because today, that's the latter. I could see the intent of them trying to say, we're on it. That's what the message, that's the message they're trying to send. But the whole at season's end thing, that's kicking the can down the road. You'd be better off with a one sentence saying, we are seriously monitoring all facets of the football program, and you will hear from us when the time is right. There's your statement. You don't need to put it on a calendar date that says it's season's end. That's crazy, man. Or you could just, make a statement that says Gus Malzahn or Tony White or Chris Thompson or Odell Hagens is your interim head coach, and we are beginning the search immediately with a comprehensive assessment of the football program. It's just, was anybody in the room to say, guys, this doesn't help us? This makes it look worse. It reminds me of 2014. You remember that press conference after we beat Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
This is still, for me, the gold medal winner of the stupidest thing we've ever done as an administration. Jameis was suspended for a half. Friday night before the game, they make it a full game. So now Sean McGuire is going to play the entire time. Florida State wins. Carlos Williams cuts back to the left.
It's the origins of Sean McGuire needs our help.
Sean McGuire needs our help week turned into from a 2-quarter task to a 4-quarter task. And I remember walking into that turf room after, You know it.
Yeah.
The buzz of that light. Remember the overhead light?
Yeah.
And you're waiting on Jimbo. I'm looking at the podium. Jimbo's not here yet. Who's standing on the wall that is padded in there? Stan Wilcox. Oh, that makes sense. Surely the athletic director is going to sit at the podium, answer questions about what Garnett Stokes did the night before, take the heat off a coach so coach can speak about the win, right? Never moved. Jimbo walks in. Jimbo sits down. Jimbo has to answer about the suspension instead of the victory. I'm still mad about that. Give the coach his chance to speak about the game. He didn't want the suspension to go longer. This is worse, man. This is worse.
You know what's interesting? I want to go back to something we talked about a moment ago, and then we probably got to take a break right now. But, and I brought this up with the video I did with Aslan and Corey earlier today. I think what Penn State did is interesting, and in the sense that I think they had an understanding that if you could get him to market right now, you could get Franklin out there as a candidate for the next big job opening, that you increase the likelihood of him being hired sooner rather than later. Like those conversations begin sooner rather than later. And you need that if you're going to have the offset language kick in of those contracts where you're not going to end up owing the totality of that. They wanted him out there first, big name. Lots of people will have a go at him. Right, he's a program builder. I mean, frankly, yes, well-documented problems in the big game. There's no getting around that. However, also well-documented, very successful everywhere he's been. There's a baseline to what he's going to provide you. You're going to recruit. He has look at the lines of scrimmage. This is where it matters most, the lines of scrimmage. This is about building the way SEC teams build. It's the way Ohio State builds. The offensive line and the defensive line. This is where Jimbo effed up. He let Atkins stick around for too long. He wasn't doing a good job of recruiting and developing anybody.
Yeah.
Or I said Jimbo. I meant to say Mike screwed up. So Atkins. But yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can't continue to not build through the high school ranks of the offensive and defensive lines. You need somebody who gets this and recruits that way. And you have to be passionate about it. Like everything else, I think you could fill in through the portal. Receiver here, corner there, running back here or there. I could let somebody else develop a quarterback. We're seeing that now, and then bring him in. Just don't bring in DJ. Bring in the right one. But the point is, like, you can't do that. That's not available on the offensive and defensive line. That's how you got to build. It's too late for him now. We've moved on. I mean, Mike's done. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. He's done. There's no coming back from this. It's over. It's spiraled. I'm very curious. If you offered Franklin the job, a very, very angry James Franklin, who is very, very motivated.
Not like our OC who's letting the sun set in his career, wants to simplify. No, he wants to burn the earth in Pennsylvania. He's got rage in his heart in the best of ways, and has always done a good job in recruiting and building programs. Now, again, we'll all hold our breath when he faces Miami or Clemson or Florida. We're going to do that if he's our head coach. But I use that as an example. Penn State's counting on that, not us, but just in general, that people are like, they're going to get that offset. That he's going to get hired by somebody in one of the bigger jobs. Boy, I think having an honest conversation about what is the Florida State job is a tough one for Florida State fans to have right now. Doesn't help when there's a statement like that today. You're like, that's the guy I'm going to work for? Bergus, that is certainly not true. He's not worse in the Big Ten than Mike in the ACC. That is not in any way true. He's won a game in the last calendar year in his conference. He just won a playoff game. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
The Florida Gaming Control Commission arrested Penn Arcade cashier Patrick Brown last week. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Bright sunshine expected this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 77. Winds out of the northeast, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 54 tonight. Clear skies. Daytime highs approaching 82 tomorrow. Ample sunshine expected. Clear skies Wednesday with highs around 80. 78 Thursday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently 73.
Did you know that the survivability of a metal roof far exceeds that of a traditional shingle roof? At Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee, we have new state-of-the-art roll formers that produce the highest quality Versa panel, PBR panel, and standing seam options. And we will guarantee to match or beat any local competitor's pricing. We're a family-owned business, ready to offer you the best sales and installation service in the area. And don't forget about our veterans and first responders discounts. Call Metal Roofing Sales today, 850-536-9123, or visit us online at metalroofingSales.net.
Hey, Jeff, what's up, buddy? I was just thinking, they never tell you that when you grow up, one of the things that you'll miss are the games that you created with your friends in the neighborhood. Oh, good days. So I would have my buddy come over, and then we'd make up these games that were kind of like a hodgepodge of every game that you've ever played. Kind of like the bikes we built. Correct, yes. And it's a grand experiment. In the beginning, nobody knows how to play the game, and you argue about what the rules are going to be. And in the end, everybody knows how to play the game. By the end of that summer, you know the rules, the neighborhood know the rules, and you play that game like it's the greatest game ever played.
And you still try to break the rules, right?
Oh, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But at the end, Eddie, you're never going to play it again, and you'll think about it the rest of your life.
And the best game you ever played was that game.
Never been a better one.
Hey, you want to have a Gordo Smash, Jeff?
I do. I'd like that. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
It's easy to get bogged down in the immediate bitter disappointment of the situation and circumstances we find ourselves in. But I will say, if you take a look around, various top-tier programs take turns looking this kind of foolish the way we do currently. That's not ideal. But also, we know in this era, and this perhaps makes it in the moment a little bit more bitterly disappointing. This is something I was going to get to a moment ago, but I never finished my thought because I was distracted by all the other tentacles this provides. But that is, Tom, like, we are in an era where, Indiana is number 2 and you can win a national championship there. Like, they now matter. They do. They just simply do. Georgia Tech's in the top 10. Vanderbilt's in the top 10. It's a crazy time what we're seeing. You don't have to. It's okay. You can now lose games. We don't need a guy that's going to guarantee you undefeated seasons. You're not looking for somebody that is that kind of difference maker. There are only 2 or 3 guys that exist like that in the college football world anymore. Really, you could argue maybe they don't. I mean, I guess, would you consider Ryan Day that guy? I don't know that I would. The program is that kind of a juggernaut. I don't know that I consider him the difference maker per se. But so my point to this is you're actually looking for somebody who's going to make you relevant annually to be a playoff contender. You can lose 3 times and be a playoff contender. You can lose 2 times for sure and be in the playoffs. You need to be a team that is most years, I think we know now that this is starting to, again, head the way of the NFL model more and more. There are going to be years where the ball doesn't bounce your way. The margins are so razor thin anymore compared to what they used to be. And you lose those days that you turn it over 3 times and give up a special teams touchdown. Okay, it's going to happen. All right, well, can you get a guy that most years is going to get you 10-2, 9-3, maybe a bad year's 8-4, good year's 12-0? And you got that kind of variance in you? Can you provide that for me most years? And my point of bringing that up is I think there are a lot of coaches who can do that. I think you could hire Jeff Brom tomorrow, and he would do that. You brought him Braun from Louisville, he would do that.
I think it's also fair to say that we need to reassess what what a good record is. It used to be 12-0, 11-1
That's
or
correct.
bust. Or when there were 11 game seasons, 11-0 and 10-1 or bust. But now 10-2, you're right, is if you get the right 10, the right wins within that 10,
yeah,
you're in. You're going to be in the playoff, especially when it expands out even more.
Yeah, to 16. Yeah.
You don't play for 16-0 or 17-0 in the NFL. That's just not reasonable. And we're getting closer to that in college. I don't think we're all the way there, but 10-2 sounds a lot different than it did in 1997. Or, 10-1 did in 1997. Agree.
Yeah, it's changing. What you're the kind of guy you're bringing in and the ability to be able to cobble together consistent 9-3, 8-4 type seasons with the occasional 12-0 or 11-1. That broadens the pool quite a bit compared to yesteryear.
Yeah, it's not lessening the standard. That's the reality of the sport where it's going. But still, that's a far cry from where we are right this freaking second. So,
the reason for bringing any of this, we're up against it. The reason for bringing any of this up is that the iconic coach who draws the recruits is kind of a dying breed. It doesn't exist the way that it once did. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Hey everybody, this is Shannon Young with Cross Country Mortgage. Been in the industry now for 22 years. I just made the move over to the nation's largest retail lender, Cross Country Mortgage, here to serve you in 7 states, including Florida, Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and the state of Texas. Here to offer better service, better rates, and if you were thinking about buying or if you've been on the fence and been waiting to call me, now is the time. You can still find me at loansforknowles.com. That is, again, loansforknowles.com. I've helped thousands of fellow Knowles get into their dream home, and I can't wait to help you get into yours. Give me a call today. I'm at 954-369-6171, or go to loansforknowles.com. Again, that's 954-369-6171, and that's loansforknowles.com.
Equal housing lender, NMLS number 373031.
No matter what printing you need to keep your business running, we can help. Hi, Jason Butera here for The Printery. Reduce your stress and give us a call. From new product brochures or posters to yard signs, postcards, even letterhead and envelopes, The Printery sets the standard in personalized service with outstanding results. We offer full-service graphic design and free pickup and delivery. The Printery, home of 36-cent color copies. If it's ink on paper, we've got it covered. Call us today, 877-6418. 877-6418.
Florida man, you're all crooked again. What did you do to yourself this time?
Well, we were tailgating before the big game, and I had to defend Hank's honor. Some guy's arm wearing his gold chain and said, "Nice Gator fan." Can you believe that? Hank is a Seminole, thank you very much. But it all went downhill during Flip Cup. Hank was losing bad, and the guy starts heckling. He says, "Figures a Gator fan can't flip." The next thing I know, Hank's all over the table and going for the guy's throat. I tried to break it up. I grabbed the keg to end the chaos, and bam, my back went out like a lawn chair in a hurricane. I didn't even make it to the game.
Let me guess, Hank went without you.
Yep, stormed the field after the win.
At Finn Chiropractic, they'll get to the root of your pain and deliver the solutions. Book your appointment online at finchiro.com, and you'll even get an online discount. Visit finchiro.com today and find your path to a pain-free tomorrow.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3 WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee.
Introducing Harry's Plus. Oh, I've told you about Harry's razors before. Here's a little bit of the shaving cream they sent me. Thank you. Sent to the beeper. Also, Harry's got the travel pack razor. I got the Harry's in the back bathroom. I got the Harry's for my kids. What are we talking about? Well, they're high school kids. One of them's a senior. He needed a good razor. Harry spent 10 years developing their most advanced razor yet, an entire decade of R&D for the smoothest possible shave. And I can attest to that because I shave every morning with Harry's. And you won't find a better blade. And I've tried all of them. Refined blade technology. I could tell you about that. I could talk to you about the quality, the barbershop quality shave. Feels like almost like a straight razor. It's unbelievable. And their razors still cost less than Gillette Fusion, which is crazy. So you get this premium shave without this exorbitant price. risk-free trial right now. If you don't love your shave, Harry's will make it right. No questions asked. Here's what you do, guys. For a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/warchant. Get you a Harry's razor. The set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, one refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shaving gel. Got that too. Yeah. And travel cover to protect your blades when you go on the road. Just head to harrys.com/warchant to claim this offer. And after you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support this show, the Jeff Cameron Show. Support Warchant. Tell them that we sent you. That's right, harrys.com/warchant.
The deal was available today only. If this happened to you, contact your resort or Wesley Financial Group for help today.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-791-1313. 800-791-1313.
Hey, everybody, this is Shannon Young with Cross Country Mortgage. Been in the industry now for 22 years. I just made the move over to the nation's largest retail lender, Cross Country Mortgage, here to serve you in 7 states, including Florida, Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and the state of Texas. Here to offer better service, better rates, and if you were thinking about buying, or if you've been on the fence and been waiting to call me, now is the time. You can still find me at loansforknowles.com. That is, again, loansforknowles.com. I've helped thousands of fellow Knowles get into their dream home, and I can't wait to help you get into yours. Give me a call today. I'm at 954-369-6171, or go to loansforknowles.com. Again, that's 954-369-6171, and that's loansforknowles.com.
Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 373031.
Games for Less, Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used games, as well as new and used consoles like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Atari 2600, PS4, and PS5. You name it. Locally owned and operated since 1994, trade-ins are not only welcome, but Games for Less pays more for your trade-ins than the big chain stores. That's not all. Games for Less now buys and sells new and used vinyl records to boot. George loves the Beatles, by the way. Reserve all the new releases today at Games for Less, conveniently located in the Walmart Supercenter Plaza on Appalachian Parkway.
Pay-per-view fights can ring up big bills, especially since in the Octagon there is one every few weeks. That's why the Seventh Hill Tap Room right downstairs from Corner Pocket Bar and Grill carries every single fight. Plus, unlike most pay-per-view bars, there's no cover charge. And drink specials too, like $3 select domestic beers and more. And if you enjoy international soccer, Seventh Hill opens early. $2 mimosas on Sundays, anyone? The Seventh Hill Tap Room, 2475 Appalachian Parkway. Just downstairs from Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
To start the evening, let's start the proceedings by stumbling as we take the stage. It's a tough one. I haven't even said my opening line. Falling on my face. Yeah, that's a sign of a distracted and obviously unbuttoned up set of circumstances for the football team, and that's not going to get better, I don't think, anytime soon. It gets interesting. I would encourage you to go read Ira's piece on warchant.com today. One of the parts that kind of stands out to me is that the decision makers, you could start with the president, Richard McCullough. You could look at the Board of Trustees chair, Peter Collins. I look closely at Peter. I think Peter's got a lot of say. Peter's got a lot of power. As to the financial implications that come with making a move, meanwhile, while that happens, and we talk about structure behind the scenes and perhaps a power grab and a restructuring of an athletics department, we talk about how that should look. Meanwhile, you're just marinating in the suck of what this program actually is in the present. And unfortunately for them, they got games to play, more games to play, more opportunities to disappoint. As I always say, wins and losses happen for a reason, and they elicit emotion, good or bad. Now, you do not want to fly by the seat of your pants and be subject to those whims of emotion. You do not want to be making decisions hastily based on euphoria or devastation. But we've seen more than enough sample size here to decide that it is time to move on. And I think that most of the powers that be that I'm alluding to now would agree with you. They all, I think, probably would agree with you at this point. But getting their ducks in a row and figuring out how best to move forward, we shall see. I know that Florida State has to have a program that is, from a football standpoint, not just relevant, but annually in contention to win the league. It's what they've built towards for years. It's what they've thrown their money at. So the standard here is very, very high. Won't always be able to live up to it, but you certainly can't be this far away from it. It means things are untenable. It means we're looked upon as a joke currently. It means that your Saturdays are going to be filled with frustration if you're hoping that this thing gets turned around sooner rather than later, because it's not going to be. They just lost to Stanford's backup quarterback, and Stanford, period, with their starting quarterback wasn't any good. They just lost to a team that, if you really look at that game, I mean, what Florida State outgained Stanford by 150-something yards? It's just gross that you were ever in that position. I'm not trying to take unnecessary shots at Stanford. Congrats to them. It's a moment they'll always remember. But you're everybody's Super Bowl when you go to Florida State. That's what this program is. It's everybody's going to take their best shot because of the spear on the side of the helmet. That's the cachet you have. You have to have a coach in place that understands that, can handle that, the rigors of that, and have his team ready to respond to those kinds of things. That's what it is when you're an elite team, say, in the Big Ten or the SEC. Ohio State's going to get everybody's best shot all the time. Part of the role of a really good coach is to ensure that the program is in such a place and the players are in a mental state where they understand that you're not going to be allowed to go through the motions. You're always going to have to show up and play your best football, and certainly Florida State over the last 2 years is far from that. You can't even wrap your mind around losing 9 straight conference games in the ACC. That's unbelievable. Suffice to say, I never thought I'd see the day.
Here's a question to add to the discussion. And I think it lends itself towards your stance that Alford wasn't allowed to make the decision.
I don't think he was.
I think a piece of evidence that supports your claim there, he went to Stanford. He stood on the field. He spoke to Mike Norvell before the game in front of the cameras. He knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
He could have that same conversation with him on the bus, at the team hotel, in the tunnel, in the locker room. But he decides to stand with Mike Norvell on that football field before the game. He decides to make the trip in the first place to the West Coast. He doesn't have to do that. He doesn't make every roadie, does he? I don't think so. Maybe he does.
I think he does.
But you're standing on the field with Coach in a camera shot. ESPN uses that camera shot in the fourth quarter of the game. You know exactly what you're doing. So if you're going to go to all that trouble And then all you're going to do with that is make a statement that says, we'll catch you at the end of the year. Buddy, it's offensive as a Florida State fan. There are times that we speak as analysts. There are times that we speak as fans, and a combination of the two. As a Florida State fan and alum, I am offended that Mike Norvell is going to run out of the tunnel in the next game. You can't let it happen. Can't be.
I think there are two ways that we're viewing this. I've moved past Mike Norvell. I've moved past the discussion of what he is, what he isn't, whether I like him or not. It's all irrelevant to me. He's failed. He cannot be the head coach at Florida State next year. I wouldn't have him be the head coach at Florida State today. I've also already said that. I would have fired him after 2-10. But be that as it may. All right. I am now much more interested in who it is that is going to be making these decisions, how this is going to be organized, and how do we move forward with a cogent plan that is going to make Florida State relevant annually and not have themselves in this most precarious position of having to fund the sixth largest buyout in the country. You know, you've got to figure out now, how do we get past this at a time where we're overextended? The money people have closed the checkbooks, man. They're pissed. They're all very, very pissed.
And that's the other thing here, but go ahead.
Well, they don't want to write the next check till they get shown a plan, and they want to know who is in charge. Because they already wrote a lot of checks to bail this guy out. So if you wonder why there's a delay or this process is convoluted, that's partly why. It's less about not having the money and more about not wanting to spend the money until they have a clear understanding of what we're doing next to ensure this doesn't happen, or come as close to you possibly can to ensure that this doesn't happen again.
And that is all 100% fair to speak on and bring up. The whole thing is, unless there's some sort of factor in a negotiation with Mike Norvell,
which there may be.
If there is, then this makes sense. If there isn't, it makes none, because he's not a part of your future, whether they can stroke a giant check or a little check or anything in between. You could do that now, and you'd have the same conversation you would have. Unless there's,
you would just make Gus your interim head coach and let him play out the
You're still
string.
going to have that conversation as a power broker or as an administrator within the university. That's nothing changes with him being served the pink slip, other than the fact that everybody exhales and they gather for the thing that's coming next. Also, you left yourself in limbo. If you're saying to the end of the season, how are recruiting visits going to go? And those conversations.
Well, okay.
How about with the NIL folks who are going to help you beyond what the rev share is? What are they? How is the Battle's End supposed to answer in this interim time? How's a booster rep supposed to answer?
Mm-hmm.
Or better yet, how's a position coach supposed to answer when a kid calls him? Are they going to be honest in the moment and say, hey, we're not going to be here. You might as well start looking around.
Well, no, I think you're right about the high school kids that they're talking to, right? That's problematic. Like that's going to be problematic regardless, because you're going through another change. But that is problematic. It's less problematic than I realized as it pertains to the studs on this roster. And they do have some. They hit on this last class finally. And Cromaw's a really good player, right? And I think you've got a few guys like that would fall under that umbrella of guys that you don't want to lose.
Yeah, Danzy, Desires.
Right. Yeah, the Desir twins. Yeah, right. You don't want to lose. Yeah, there's like 10 guys that you're like, whoa, go.
Yep.
Yeah, win. Yeah, right. You don't want to lose those guys. I was told that this day and age, it gets a little easier to keep them because they've already been paid. In the cases of the really good players, they've been paid pretty well, right? That's how they got here to begin with. You were offering to pay the big money. Like you stole Croma from Georgia. You know he was getting paid well by Georgia. So you had to come in with a really good number. All right. So that's already, you know you're at a place where they'll pay. And you're probably going to be able to negotiate a 20% raise to stay on board. So why wouldn't you just wait and see who they hire and then say, all right, well, you want me to stick around? All right, this is what it's going to take.
That's fair, but is that 20% coming out of the rev share? Because if it has to come out of NIL, you're drying up that utility service right now by not acting. Because in the interim, you could say that there's a larger vision, but for a lot of the rank and file members of a collective, the people who support the collective.
Oh, sure, yeah.
They're saying, no, I'm going to hold off right now. And if you don't have an answer a month from now, season's not over yet in a month. Can you imagine being here 4 weeks from now and Mike is we still have to worry about?
No, I can't imagine that, and I don't think it's going to happen.
You think it'll be done quicker? You think?
Mm-hmm.
That would also confirm that they don't know what they're doing if they release
I think
first
that's
statement
self-evident.
and then they act on Mike at some point in the near future. You think he coaches for Wake?
Probably.
I'm not going to be a nice person at Indigo. I apologize in advance. I'm going to be in a sour mood that day.
Yeah, I mean, I unless the power struggle that I'm describing behind the scenes is resolved, I think they're just going to let him go out there and wear it.
You could set up a pitch and putt golf course in the IM fields that day. There'll be a lot of room. About a 5-hole pitch and putt golf course.
Yeah, well, it's going to be an ugly scene when they charge out of the tunnel and a cascade of boos come raining down in a half-empty stadium.
Let Odell lead that charge. You think that's going to happen? Like, there's another way here.
I don't know, man. They are in between a rock and a hard place here. I would have made the move. I've already said that. But I have to believe that there are a lot of moving pieces and parts behind the scenes that they're trying to get aligned. And that's why they didn't make the move. That's why they pushed it down the road for however long they're going to push it down the road. I don't know how long that is. I know they said in the statements to the end of the season, things change, man. If it becomes toxic, if it is an ugly scene on the sidelines, our practices getting ugly, our players just further tuning him out.
Well, in the meantime, we're going to do everything we can for the 2025 Noles and Mike Norvell to succeed on the field.
I'm telling you, that sounds like something you would type into Chat GPT to come up with a statement.
Let me craft for you a 6-part statement.
I mean, what do you?
Sure.
What do you do?
Now,
I mean,
would you like this statement for fans or for shareholders? For fans. Okay. One more question. Would you like letterhead? Yes.
Man, the calls, like, I do believe. So can I just say this too? The further reason that I think that Mike Alford it does not have the final say in this situation. Well, there's a lot of reasons I think that, but let's just operate under that assumption for a second. Don't you think that this is a guy who's already made those calls and got told no? If your athletic director cannot get the yeses he needs to do what is 100% necessary and obvious to all, then he's an ineffective athletic director.
That's fair. This is, as you discussed last week, this is not the Mark Stoops buyout plan. This is a structured settlement, yeah?
It goes to 2031, although I do think up front you would owe somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 million. You could pay off the rest at $8-9 mil per.
All right. So $20 million up front.
I can't confirm that, but I've been told that there is an upfront lump sum that's not ideal.
Okay. We could have done 15 levels of different seating tiers instead of 17 or 18 levels. So how about that Jumbotron? You sure we need that Jumbotron in the offseason with the $20 million surplus that we had? Remember that money we got from the city and the county for 20? That's the exact number that we're ahead of the game here.
What makes this hard? This is a hard show to do, and it's a hard conversation to have because there are a lot of details that we don't know. There are things that I wished I had for context. I mean, I'm certainly spending and doing my due diligence to try to find out some of the greater details. I do know aspects of the contract. I certainly know, like I said, I know there's mitigation language there. You can go back and look at that. The offset language does help Florida State long term, but let me pull this up here. I had this in front of me.
He has the contract language, folks.
Well, I've got it right in front of me. Yeah, I'm looking at it. Man,
does it say if you lose to Stanford, it is for cause?
So Mike this year. That's interesting. So Mike this year Well, if you want to put the nonsense out there about the money being contributed to the university fundraising initiative, then you can believe that if you want to. I don't.
Doesn't he recoup that if he gets dismissed anyway? Wasn't that a part of the thing?
Yeah, he recoups it lots of different ways. But anyhow, next year he's set to make $10.3 million. In 27, he's set to make $10.45 million. In 28, he makes $10.6 million. In 29, he makes $10.75 million. In 30, he makes $10.9 million. In 2031, he makes, in the final year of the contract, he makes $11.05 million. Yeah, it's a massive buyout. The buyout percentage is 85% of the total remaining contract.
Right.
So that's what that is, right? So that's $59.2 million. You can pay off that $59 million if you like, Tom, in monthly installments.
Oh,
that is part of the contract.
Okay.
You don't have to do it all up front, sir. If you want the Winnebago, you can. If he gets another job, the salary's offset by the amount that FSU owes. It would offset the amount FSU owes, excuse me. So there is that mitigation language, like we said. Buddy.
Nothing expressed about the lump necessarily on the 20?
No, nothing expressed that says specifically that if this is, but that I am told there is that number. Now that I can't confirm that.
Yeah.
Not yet. I haven't been able to confirm that just yet.
Well, for Billy, he's getting $10 million or $10.5 in the first 30 days. So you got a month to cut him the check, and then the rest of the buyout is structured thereafter for the $20 million that he's owed. It's like 20.5, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that was widely reported yesterday. We knew that was coming no matter what.
Yeah, we were all told that he was fired before they won the game. They all tried to lose that game, but anyhow.
Well, in the stands too, they're
chanting.
I'm glad it's on ACC Network and not ESPN, but I mean, you're guaranteeing that by taking this action.
Mm-hmm.
You're guaranteeing an embarrassing moment for us as a fan base.
Well, does it get any more embarrassing than losing to Stanford?
That's on him, but for us.
I don't think
this now brings us and discord because there's going to be some moron there's going to be a viral video of some moron in the stands or an assistant coach or a graduate assistant or a player getting into it with somebody in the stand. You're almost guaranteeing that moment to happen. The Jimbo fights a fan in the stands thing. Like that is a high likelihood at 7:30 on a Saturday night against Wake Forest, if you do not relieve this man of his duties. I just don't know how you can let him get back on that plane, get back here, and not act. I know it's complicated in all these other ways.
He thought he was going to be fired. There is zero doubt when you watch that post-game press conference that he thought he was going to be fired.
Right.
He's fighting back tears. He sounds despondent. It's one non sequitur after the other. He knows. I think what makes Mike a somewhat empathetic figure is that he knows he has failed. He knows he failed this opportunity. It's not coming back. He blew it. Now, boo-hoo, he falls into the arms of $50+ million. I'm just saying, I think he, beyond the money, I think he really did care.
I'll feel some empathy after we cut him loose. Like, that's part of the process. I need to feel the relief first, and then I'll feel the empathy. But what's he supposed to do? What? They're going to go through stretch this week? He's going to break him down, and he's going to race the guys to the end zone one more time?
You going to do a coach's show?
Tears streaming down his face. He's, come on! There's your last chance.
No, I agree. I think it's an insane ask.
Stupid. Come on, man.
Well, and reportedly this morning when they had their team meeting, he did say to the other coaches that he understands his status is being looked at. He understands that whether or not he's going to be the head coach was in play. It's a weird way to operate.
I think it's important to distinguish. I'm not bloodthirsty for him to be fired.
Right. It's just what you think needs to be done at this point. I think that is the chorus of everybody at this point. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, he just lost to Stanford. He's lost 9 straight ACC games. What is it you say you do here besides lose every week?
An AD named Kevorkian?
Come on. It is strange.
End the suffering for everybody.
Pinch Penny Pools and Spas has everything you need for pool maintenance. Chemicals, cleaners, pumps, vacuums, nets, covers, you name it, they've got it. They're already the largest selection of premium hot springs hot tubs in the entire city. Now, by the way, you can easily finance those hot tubs, but you can also do it with the cold plunge tubs. Hot Springs has jumped on board with the cold tub manufacturing, if you will, and they are on display right next to the Hot Springs hot tubs, which is cool. Just go over to Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas off of Greer Road. You'll see what I'm talking about. If you're ready to relax, they're ready to show you how.
It's where you raise your kids, where friends become family, where every corner has a story worth telling. It's your neighborhood. At ABC 27, we share those stories, bringing you news that connects communities, builds pride, and reminds us we're part of something bigger. We are ABC 27, in your neighborhood.
Your gutters aren't going to clean themselves, and this October is your one shot to get it done free. Call Gutter Solutions and Waterproofing before the month runs out, and your gutter cleaning costs you absolutely nothing. No obligation, no purchase. Just clean gutters before the next storm rolls in. But hurry, October is ticking away. Go now to guttersolutions.net. That's guttersolutions.net. Or call today. Gutter Solutions and Waterproofing. With us, it's personal.
Here's the cold, hard truth. Your body needs more than you're giving it to stay healthy. And now it's easier than ever with Vigor, the all-new cold plunge tub from Hot Spring Spas. Available only at Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas in Tallahassee. Cold plunges reduce muscle soreness, boost mood, improve sleep, and so much more. It's not just a trend, it's science-backed wellness. And now you can have it in your own home. Ready to feel alive again? Pinch A Penny has the exclusive home use solution. Visit us on Capitol Circle Northeast and take the plunge.
Tired of spending money on bug spray and inhaling all those fumes every time you want to go outside? Treat your yard so you can stop spraying your kids.
Paul's Termite and Pest Control has a solution to this persistent problem. Paul's has a program which seeks the grounds, flower bed, and shrubs. Paul's controls pesky mosquitoes year-round, which means you can take back control of your yard. Not only are mosquitoes a physical irritation, they also pose a potential health risk to people and pets. With Paul's targeted techniques, you can rest assured that your yard will be protected and your afternoons will stay fun.
Take back your yard. Don't let mosquitoes interrupt the fun. For more information, go to callpauls.com. For the elimination of termites or any other pests.
And a greener lawn, too.
Call Pauls. We'll get them all.
Pauls can help eliminate fire ants from your lawn, too. We'll help you take your yard back.
Hey, let me tell you about my friends at Tried and True Consulting, a Seminole-owned business that specializes in payments and business solutions. Tried and True's core expertise includes card, ACH, point of sale, mobile, e-commerce, and hosted payment solutions. Tried and True will help you reduce costs and increase your bottom line. That always sounds nice. Whether you're a retailer, restaurant, licensed professional, or service industry, Tried and True is saving you money. Tried and True's expertise extends to payroll, video menu ad boards, IT services, web design, and social media. It's time to make one call and tell the competition to take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 844-464-6653. When you do business with Tried and True, they contribute 10% of the net revenue to the battle's end. So go Tried and True today. Call 844-464-6653.
From the championship stage to coaching change and everything in between, Warchant.com remains your home for the best FSU football coverage in the business. Brutally honest columns and features, market-leading multimedia presence across video and podcast, the largest FSU fan community with a staff that combines for over 100 years of experience covering the Noles. When change comes, Warchant.com is your home for analysis from every angle. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Sign up today.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
You know what I think is interesting? Like, if we get past the immediate frustration, angst, and outrage that we have right now in our heart of hearts as Florida State fans having to go through this yet again, And, everybody's got their anger they're directing towards somebody, whether that is Michael Alford, whether that is Mike Norvell, whomever it is, right? That's fine. There's enough of that to go around. There is the other part of this discussion, which is, all right, they're going to make a change at some point here in the not too distant future. And who's it going to be? And I do find that fascinating because there are only so many names that would really, I think, resonate with people who are, wanting to be wowed, wanting to be awed, wanting to be excited because of the buzz that's created by the name mentioned. And yet I don't think that's necessary, right? I don't think you have to go get that person. I don't, as long as the person you get, you feel very strongly will do a very good job in both the X's and O's and recruiting, and surround himself with people that are stone cold killers when it comes to recruiting. Building what I believe you have to do, which is through the offensive and defensive lines. Doing, listen, for as bad as Mario Cristobal is on game day, and he is as good as he is at building the roster through elite prep recruiting. That's not solely NIL, guys. Yeah, that's a $4 million check for a quarterback, maybe, or a $2 million check for a quarterback. Fine. Those lines of scrimmage were not built that way. They were built through the high school ranks, and he's got a good staff around him who recruits well, and he's a good recruiter. So to me, that's where you go. You start there and you fill out the rest. To me, you find a way to build the way that the best SEC schools and the best Big Ten schools do. You find a guy who gets it, who develops the trenches, who's bringing in guys that are just straight up dogs when it comes to playing the game in the nastiest way possible up front. That's how you build a consistent winner. All the rest of it's fine. Yeah, ultimately, maybe to win a national championship, you might need that special player at wide receiver, running back, quarterback, whatever. But if you want to be an annual contender and be in position to compete to win conference championships and thus go to a college football playoff annually, it has to be because you've got some sons of bitches on the offensive and defensive lines. I can't stress that enough. You're not finding those players anymore in the portal. It's not happening. You're finding other players, supplemental pieces in the portal. You're not finding those players in the portal. And save your time sending me the exception or the outlier. I get it. There's the occasional outlier. For the most part, though, you've got to find those dudes, those hosses, in the high school ranks, and you got to do a good job of assessing them and getting on them early and developing those relationships and ensuring that you have something that is a through line to success, which is owning the day where it matters most up front, both sides of the ball. Can I run? Can I stop the run? Am I nasty? Can I protect the passer when we have opportunities to take shots? Do I have a group that can withstand injury over the course of a season? Because this is indeed a war of attrition. And the guys in the trenches get hurt the most often. You got to have quality backups, really good players that you've brought in. Now, you don't want to have to play them early, and sometimes you do. But you got to – we watched it on display. I mean, that was unbelievable to me when we lost what's-his-face at tackle, and we had to throw Rizzi out there who's not a tackle. And you're thinking to yourself that was 2 games ago, but you're thinking to yourself, how do we not have another tackle? How is it even possible we're in this position that you don't have another guy at that position that is an honest-to-goodness tackle that at the very least has been developed enough that in a pinch could go out there and mitigate whatever damage is being done by the loss of the quality starter?
Yeah, in that sense, we were warned a little bit because we heard the initial comments in the coach's luncheon from Herb Hand.
Yes.
And then we got him again as the press corps did, and we did translates. The Coach Cameron translates segment, and that was not encouraging as it related to tackle depth and depth specifically. Now, he sounded okay about a lot of the offensive line, 3-4 positions, but you knew in that moment that he was talking about Lucas Simmons, and then you get halfway through camp or 3/4 of the way through camp, and your offensive line coach is evasive at best when it comes to talking about a backup tackle. Yeah, that the whole part and point of what's going on at the upper levels is about the future of the program, the 5-year picture of what we're going to do, because it's going to be different. I just hope that they have some semblance of an idea of, in the interim right now, in these middle times, what are we doing with the rev share? And do we have a plan to cajole as much money as possible for the battle's end to make sure that we can scramble like we did last year to salvage something from this 26th cycle. You could spend more in the portal window in January, and you might have to out of necessity because you're going through a coaching change, and I'm here for that. I understand the idea of fatigue with Matt Millen's picks year after year with wide receiver, but this year you kind of have to pick another wide receiver if you get the analogy. I just hope that there's some thought on that, because what it feels like with this limbo thing we're doing right now is we're effectively killing the 26th class even more than it was already going to die.
It was already going to die. I was just about to say. You weren't salvaging much of that.
This feels just a little bit worse because you could offset that with some extra cash, but since you don't have a direction or you haven't made a statement about head coach, I don't think...
Tom, they have made a statement.
Well,
he has their unwavering support as they continue to assess.
Comprehensive assessment at the end of the year.
Yeah.
That does not help the Battle's End very much for the next 6 weeks. So
that's
my point.
It doesn't. The Battle's End is going to take a temporary running kick to the balls,
which is going to help you in December and January, but now it won't. That's
the
point.
That's a toughie. The point I was making about, I'll use this person as an example. I'm not telling you that this guy's going to be the next head coach at Florida State. I'm not even intimating as much. I am saying that this kind of a coach, would be somebody that I don't think would resonate. I don't think fans would be like, yes, nailed it, perfect. Oh, there'd be a few, but a lot of them would be like, well, I don't know. And that's a guy like John Sumrall. So John Sumrall is 43 years old. Many consider him the architect behind the successes that Mark Stoops had in building Kentucky up to be a 10-win team. Mark's in trouble now, by the way. Mark might be a name as well, who gets how to build a program from the line of scrimmage on, right? But he's at Tulane is Sumrall right now. And he's having, obviously, in a very short period of time, a great impact. They're 6-1 and 3-0 in the conference, and they've got it rolling. He had sex. Hey, now I'm sure he has. He had success.
Congratulations.
Yeah. He had success at Troy. May have had sex at Troy as well. I don't know, but he had success at Troy, big time, and then parlayed it into. He went 23-4, left for Tulane prior to the bowl game. Went to Tulane. Arrived immediately, posted a good number in the conference. I think they were 9-5 overall, and then now is currently 3-0 in the conference and 6-1 overall, or 7-1, whatever he is. So he's been good. There's a guy that would not move the needle for a lot of people. They'd be like, "What? We're bringing? Okay, former Troy Tulane guy, huh?" And yet he's a very good football coach, well thought of. Might actually turn out to be a great hire. I just think guys like that. And again, I'm just using him as an example because there are a lot of Alex Golish is like that, right? Guys that are relatively young, having success at smaller programs that could be of interest, who do a good job of building their roster and having success quickly and getting buy-in. But that's not going to make this fan base happy. They want a splash. And I don't know that there's a splash out there. The closest thing to a splash that Florida State could attract right now, in my opinion, would be James Franklin. And even he has, immediate detractors within this fan base. I have certainly criticized his numbers in big games, but there's no getting around the fact that he did a great job at Vanderbilt, and he was at Penn State for 13 years. He won a lot of football games. He just couldn't beat Ohio State and Michigan.
That's one of those things we were discussing that yesterday in Bellying Up. If you can get him at that discount, that's a common thought, is that you could get him for a discount.
And you'd get a motivated, angry version.
Yeah, because he wants to make Penn State cut checks. And I think that's funny, and that would be kind of cool. But if it's not at a discount, you might as well.
Right.
You can't pay open market free agency value if you want to look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
There's two ways to create pitching in Major League Baseball. One's through the farm, and one's through breaking open the wallet for a guy who's got a 3.30 ERA. That's who James Franklin is. He's a good pitcher. He's probably a 2. But that 2 is going to cost you $35 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing here in the coaching ranks, $12, $13 million a year.
Well,
if it's going to be open market value, because this is the thing, there's a lot of people who are starving for a head coach in this cycle. It's a bad year for it. A lot of big time programs are going to have openings. You could add LSU potentially here to the conversation real soon. Auburn, LSU, Florida, Penn State, us. Yikes.
Better call Brian Philpott, Ken Cashin, and others say, hey, buddy.
Well, yeah, that's where you call Mark Stoops. He goes, really? All right.
Oh, I've been waiting. I have always dreamt of this. I wish I were a fly on the wall for those conversations. I also wish that I knew that there was a very distinct timeline that we were going to adhere to, because this ain't it. This sitting here in limbo, projecting what we think might happen is tough. This is not definitive. I can't tell you that I know for certain that by this date or for sure at the end of this, game or whatever, it's going down. I don't know that. I just know that there's jostling. There's a bit of a power struggle. There's assessment. I don't think that part of the statement is false. I think there is assessment going on as to who gets to make this decision. I think if it were Alford's decision at this point, I kind of feel like he would have moved on by now. They would have moved on from Mike. Although it's not necessarily a good look for him either, even though he did not hire Mike Norvell.
I still don't blame him for the extension. I can have a multifaceted conversation on the pluses and minuses of Alford, but if you get snubbed because you're not Alabama and then you lose your head coach to Alabama, you're going to get fired as the athletic director in the minds of all fans in that moment. So that's a tough situation with the information they had before them at that time. But subsequent that, did he have to release this as the retort if he didn't have the power to make the move? And also, if he was told we're not ready yet, why? Firing Mike doesn't change any of the conversations that you could have as an administration subsequent. It doesn't change anything. It's the same conversation.
Again, I don't think he had the power. I don't think he wielded the authority. I think he was told to release a statement, and that's what you got.
I actually kind of feel bad for him in that scenario because it's the right move. He would be making the correct recommendation, and he would be told to stand down from doing the right thing.
Well, if that's what he wanted to do, I don't know that.
Yeah.
If that's what he wanted to do, I don't want to presume anything about that. But yeah, my guess is that he didn't want to have to release that statement, but I'm sure he was told to do so. Do your job. Release a statement. We're not sure what we want to do yet. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do next. We don't want to fire this guy until we have it figured out.
Which if I was
now,
him,
you would argue back. You would retort, "Hey,
say,
that's not a good look, guys. We should just move on."
It's your call, guys. All right, fine. But are we seriously considering we're going to keep him?
No, and that's the hard part because I don't think they are. I mean, I don't think there's anything that can be done that would allow him to retain his position at this point.
Exactly. Which is the question. If I was Alford, I'd bring in the room and I'd say, "So, what's the difference?"
Well, there might be an answer for that. I don't know.
Yeah,
they may have an answer for that. We're trying to chip away to find out. I mean, I think everybody on the beat is trying to figure that out. I think everybody's probably got an opinion, and I think a lot of people hearing similar things as to, the juxtaposition of power and who's got what and all those sorts of things. But yeah, it's
the Windhorst. Well, if they're not going to fire him now,
it's tough, man. I hate it because you feel like it's the stew of discontent, man. We're just going to sit here and look at each other and nod our heads. Christian Bale, Kermit the Frog, over and over and over again.
So you're going to let him do the press conference? Oh, okay, you did.
So it's a bye week, so this how much access we're going to have to the coordinators and to the coach is going to be interesting to me.
Well, it's also,
they're supposed to talk to him tomorrow.
That's what's really funny and fascinating and unfortunate about this week. But you got to laugh sometimes. The coordinators speak before the head coach. That was already planned. That was already determined.
Yeah.
That you get coordinators tomorrow and Mike on Wednesday. If you're gonna bathe in this mess, you got to let Mike speak tomorrow and put the coordinators on Wednesday. You can't let the coordinators speak before the head coach after he's already been publicly neutered. You can't let that happen. So Gus,
I can't fathom. Like, imagine. There are times with coaches, and I've said this before, coaches shows and those kinds of things, or when it's going poorly. I do think, and again, nobody's crying them a river because they're making gobs and gobs and gobs of money that most of us would only dream of, right? I get all that. But it is unenviable, to say the least, and nearly impossible to have the kind of presser and Q&A with the press when you're going through it like this that is going to satiate anything for anybody. Because short of saying, I'm doing a terrible job, I suck, you guys are right, I'm awful, I have failed all of you. Short of saying that, nobody's going to be happy. And they're certainly not going to be happy with you stutter effing your way through the you-knows of the world 50,000 times as you try to think of a way to word why it is we suck. That's not good. It ain't going to work.
That's why if I'm in the media relations office and it's a scheduled time for Tony White and Gus Malzahn to speak, why is Luke Laux walking in the door? Okay, everybody, wanted to tell you about the basketball program. Got a big game coming up Sunday against Florida A&M. I would cancel the press conferences right now. There's nothing good that can come from it.
Yeah, well, or I would. Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see you Monday, guys. Like, that would be my message. We'll see you Wake Forest Monday.
It's a bye week. We'll talk to you on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Local news now.
A former Leon County teacher has been arrested after alleged sexual misconduct. The Leon County Sheriff's Office announced on Wednesday LCSO arrested 30-year-old Michaela Rich after an investigation into alleged sexual misconduct with a minor. Detectives determined that a relationship between Rich and a minor spanned around 3 years. The relationship started when Rich was 27 and the victim was 16. At the time of the relationship, Rich was a teacher at Axe Christian Academy. According to arrest documents, the relationship between Rich and the minor did not turn sexual until that individual turned 18. Most recently, Rich worked at Appalachia Elementary School, but school officials said she no longer works with Leon County Schools. She is charged with offenses against students by authority figures. LCSO said it is not yet known if these incidents were isolated and encouraged anyone with information to contact them at 850-606-3300. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update. Brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Bright sunshine expected this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 77. Winds out of the northeast, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 54 tonight. Clear skies. Daytime highs approaching 82 tomorrow. Ample sunshine expected. Clear skies Wednesday with highs around 80. 78 Thursday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently 76.
And here come the leaves. Thousands of them falling fast, covering every inch of the yard. But wait, who's this rushing in? It's the Lawn Johns with the ultimate fall cleanup blitz. From clearing leaves to fresh pine straw and mulch, the Lawn Johns dominate the field, your yard, so you can focus on what matters. Grilling, chilling, and cheering on your team. Don't let leaves sack your game day fun. Call the Lawn Johns today and win the battle of the backyard. The Lawn Johns. Your lawn, our game.
Hey, Jeff, what's up, buddy?
I was just thinking, I never tell you that when you grow up, one of the things that you'll miss are the games that you created with your friends in the neighborhood.
Oh, good days.
So I would have my buddy come over, and then we'd make up these games that were kind of like a hodgepodge of every game that you've ever played.
Kind of like the bikes we built.
Correct. Yes. And it's a grand experiment. In the beginning, nobody knows how to play the game, and you argue about what the rules are to be. And in the end, everybody knows how to play the game. By the end of that summer, you know the rules, the neighborhood know the rules, and you play that game like it's the greatest game ever played.
And they still try to break the rules, right?
Oh, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But at the end, Eddie, you're never going to play it again, and you'll think about it the rest of your life.
And the best game you ever played was that game.
Never been a better one.
Hey, you want to have a Gordo Smash, Jeff?
I do. I'd like that. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
One thing's for certain is you remain irrelevant over the course of the rest of this season. And, I don't know that nationally, let me just say this. So in our circles, obviously this takes precedent. Obviously we care greatly that Florida State has lost for the fourth straight time and ninth straight ACC game, and to a program like Stanford that frankly is not equipped to beat you if you are buttoned up at all. So, you see that statement, and you grow increasingly frustrated, and it feels like the end of the world, and I understand all of that. And I'm with you about some of it. I think nationally people probably look at it and go, all right, well, Florida State's season was already ruined. They've got to get it together down there and figure out what they're doing. And, yeah, nothing's going to change whether you fire him today or 3 weeks from now or at the end of the season. Get it together. Figure it out. And then, devise a plan and move forward. That's kind of probably how they look at it nationally. It's like, yeah, well, their season's already over. Their season's already ruined. They don't have to act today. I'm talking about like that view from outside of Tallahassee. We want them to act today because we want to be a serious football program who doesn't stand for this kind of shenanigans.
And I think we also want to avoid terribly unfortunate moments inside of Doak Campbell Stadium on the heartfelt front. But then also, the sooner you do this, the sooner you can start to recoup money from people who want to give you money. But the longer you live here, I think that delays that process. Would you agree with that? That if you're trying to get money either in the booster level or the NIL level, the longer that you play this middle game, you're delaying that cycle of people being pissed and then coming around and being willing to help you again. You're just drying up the well.
You're 5-15 since the 2023 ACC championship game, and there was a time this is how quickly the landscape changes. You're 5-15 since then. At that time, the guy had won 19 games in a row. There was evidence that the ship was righted, all was well. Florida State was heading in the right direction. The snub occurs. We could debate the degree to which that ruined him and this program. I think there's an element of it. I think his message began to fall on deaf ears. I have said he plays the same note over and over and over again. It's the only motivational speech he has, which is the over-the-top preacher approach to motivation. And it probably begins to ring hollow when you tell somebody that it's about the work, play the next play, control what you can control, it'll all work out. And then it didn't. Now, I'm not going to give him the out that says you're allowed to then just go on and watch this thing spiral or become a death spiral. I think that you've got to be able to read the room better than that and understand that we have to shift gears here. It didn't happen. I think motivated by that snub, they made some ill-advised decisions in the portal because they did not want to go through a transitional year and be mediocre. And they made the wrong choices. It turned into a cluster you-know-what, and he's never been able to rebound. It's interesting that they won that Alabama game by being more physical at the point of attack. They had the edge, quote-unquote, that he talks about ad nauseum. That was a collection of, again, portal players coming in who said, in essence, that wasn't us. We weren't here. We weren't part of that. They were told repeatedly how bad they were going to lose. They were told how ugly it was going to be, how Alabama would come in and rub roughshod. It was an entire offseason of that, to the point where I think those players had a lot to prove, and coordinators wanting to make a splash. They put their best foot forward. I think Alabama overlooked Florida State. I think Alabama assumed that they would win that game comfortably, and when Florida State rose up and punched Alabama in the mouth and answered back the opening drive, Alabama was a bit ill-prepared for that. I don't think DeBoer had him ready to play. You couple it with the fact that Simpson was making his first big road start, first big start period, and I think he was looking at a 3-3-5 that got a little confusing for him, and he got off his spot repeatedly, a little hurried, if you will, and momentum built up for Florida State. They were the healthiest they were going to be all year long, so the lack of depth didn't cost them, and they got that win. It didn't help Florida State to play two cupcakes afterwards. They went on the road, perhaps full of themselves, lost to Virginia. Doubt began to creep in. Some players began to get nicked up, and all of a sudden, Florida State could be exploited, especially at linebacker. Film was out there. People adjusted, and now you lose, and again, you have a bunch of mercenaries because you did not build through recruiting the prep ranks, and one by one, you began to see the cracks in the armor. And now here they are, having lost 4 straight and 9 straight ACC games. And there's a disconnect. I don't think a lot of these players believe in Mike. They don't hear Mike anymore. They tune him out. That would stand to reason given what we heard reported about the locker room after this game, where they were making fun about how it is, quote unquote, they have to respond.
That's the other thing, too. You would imagine that the athletic director is in there. If a reporter can find out that information, you're out there. You know what the locker room's like.
Well, that's hideous. You can't have that. That is blatant disrespect and total disregard.
Yeah. And that's where you dismiss players, too. Like, well, I don't care who the next coach is. You can't play for him. You're done.
I think that sort of authority and control over your program starts with the head coach, and it reveals the flaw in building the way that Mike has repeatedly built, which is primarily through the portal. I just don't think you're not going to invoke any sort of loyalty when things begin to go south, when that happens. If the players ran the program and had great respect for Mike, they would have stood up to the guys in the locker room who were poking fun at him or ignoring him, and that didn't happen. Final hour forthcoming. Stay with.
Your business doesn't stop, and neither does IOWise. From the trusted owners of Mac & More Systems, IOWise offers 24/7 IT support, cybersecurity monitoring, HIPAA and compliance consulting, cloud data management, phone systems, and full network design and security. For healthcare, finance, legal industries, IOWise specializes in keeping sensitive industries protected and connected. Local service, major protection. Visit iowise.com today and discover why smart businesses trust IOWise.
He's keeping you comfortable. Very no school. You can put him to the test. Very no heating and air conditioning. Keeping you comfortable. Is what Barry does best.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license number CAC 1816186.
Very no heating and air conditioning.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark Construction.com. We conquer all peaks. We fix those darn leaks. Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark Construction.com.
License number CCC 1331204.
Tired of watching baseball score updates on your phone? Get off the bench and head to the CP. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill is your home for all MLB games in-state or nationwide. Enjoy the coldest drinks, Tallahassee's best wings, and watch your team in crystal clear comfort. And if you'd like to compete, come by Tuesday nights for CP Trivia and Thursday nights for Beer Bingo, where you can walk home with cold, hard cash. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
WVFT Gretna, Tallahassee. This is Real Talk 93.3. More of the Jeff Cameron Show is coming up next. Your sports action update on Real Talk 93.3 with all the latest odds from Vegas.
Shohei Ohtani strikes out 10 on the mound and hits 3 home runs as the Dodgers beat the Brewers 5-1 to sweep the National League Championship Series. The Dodgers are the $1.85 favorite to win the World Series for the second straight year. American League Championship Series Game 6 tomorrow. The Mariners are a win away from meeting the Dodgers for the world title. Seattle plus 105 at Toronto minus 127. 7.5 under the total in Game 6. Sunday Night Football in the NFL. Brock Purdy out, Mac Jones in for the 49ers. They're laying 2.5 points at home with the Atlanta Falcons. Score $500 in rewards at the G-Bank First Bet VSiN Trifecta. Details at vsin.com/GBank. For more sports betting news and information, go to vsin.com. Mike Son at Real Talk 93.3.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So I'm a plumber and needed to get work in the door.
So business was going down the drain?
Yeah, I went to Staples. They printed yard signs, business cards, even flyers to leave at supply stores.
But at what cost, man?
Well, I saved $125 on my order, and now I'm booked solid. Boom!
Back at ya. For your business printing, Staples.
That was easy.
Now save up to $125 on custom print orders. Valid in-store and online. Ends 11/1. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details.
Oh, no.
Ah, that's the sound of someone who's misplaced
My debit card.
their debit card.
Where did I leave that thing?
Not at the gas pump, or the checkout counter, or the roof of your car. Now, if he has the Chase mobile app, he can use Card Lock.
Wait, I could just lock my card.
Yep, just a few tippy taps on his phone, and that sound? That's peace of mind from Chase.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
Florida man, you're all crooked again. What did you do to yourself this time?
Well, we were tailgating before the big game, and I had to defend Hank's honor. Some guy's arm wearing his gold chain and said, "Nice Gator fan." Can you believe that? Hank is a Seminole, thank you very much. But it all went downhill during Flip Cup. Hank was losing bad, and the guy starts heckling. He says, "Figures a Gator fan can't flip." The next thing I know, Hank's all over the table and going for the guy's throat. I tried to break it up. I grabbed the keg to end the chaos, and bam, my back went out like a lawn chair in a hurricane. I didn't even make it to the game.
Let me guess, Hank went without you.
Yep, stormed the field after the win.
At Finn Chiropractic, they'll get to the root of your pain and deliver the solutions. Book your appointment online at finchiro.com, and you'll even get an online discount. Visit finchiro.com today and find your path to a pain-free tomorrow.
Hey everybody, this is Shannon Young with Cross Country Mortgage. Been in the industry now for 22 years. I just made the move over to the nation's largest retail lender, Cross Country Mortgage, here to serve you in 7 states, including Florida, Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and the state of Texas. Here to offer better service, better rates, and if you were thinking about buying or if you've been on the fence and been waiting to call me, now is the time. You can still find me at loansforknowles.com. That is, again, loansforknowles.com. I've helped thousands of fellow Knowles get into their dream home, and I can't wait to help you get into yours. Give me a call today. I'm at 954-369-6171, or go to loansforknowles.com. Again, that's 954-369-6171, and that's loansforknowles.com.
Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 373031.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Owned and operated radio station in all of Tallahassee. Good job. Thanks for supporting local. Same for those of you supporting us on Warchant TV, the YouTube channel. Haven't had a chance to check the chat this hour or last hour, really any of the hours. I appreciate y'all in there. I know everybody's got A lot of opinions today. It's a busy time and an ugly time for Florida State that falls on the road against Stanford in an embarrassing loss, one of many, now 9 in a row in the conference for Mike Norvell. And that's why you sit there somewhat flummoxed, as we all do, as to how it is he still has a job, and you wonder aloud, as we also do, why. And then begins the speculation about that very thing. How, why, who, what are we going to do from here? What is it we have to do from here? When is that thing going to happen? Who's a viable candidate? These are the things we will kick around for the foreseeable future until something is done. I'm saddened, first and foremost. I'm frustrated, angry. I think that we're on the cusp of some big changes in the athletic department. I've said that I think there's a lot that has made this somewhat convoluted, that it's not as simple as the athletic director witnesses the performance of the coach who's not living up to the standard and then says you have to go because there is a standard to which you are not performing and we will now fire you. Obviously, it is more, again, complicated than that, because if it were just that, it would have already happened. Instead, there are layers to this, and I think that the fight within the organization and how to go about these changes is what's afoot right now. I think that's what we're looking at. It's why it hasn't happened. I don't think Alford will be allowed to make this decision. I've kind of intimated that. I've made that pretty clear. I could be wrong, but that's the sense that I get, because I think he would have just, in any normal set of circumstances, made the decision. It's a pretty easy one. This is a straightforward deal here. The guy's losing all the time.
Yeah, why the wait is the operative question. And there are a couple of theories that we've kicked around, but here's a depressing one. What if we don't have the money?
Yeah, that's been brought up. Now, listen, the way that too is nuanced. Do we have the money in the way that a Michigan has the money, or the way that a Notre Dame has the money, or a way that a Texas has the money, or a way that an Alabama has the money? Nope. We don't. We don't have that kind of money where you just go, okay, that's it. That's all. Goodbye. Call Jerry. Jerry will stroke that check. He knows what must be done here. Get Jerry on the horn. Tell him we'll name the new tennis facility after him. Have him cut that check, okay? Jerry's Tennis from here on out. Got it? Or some such thing. We got a building we're about to construct. Anybody? Yeah, that's Jerry's. Put Jerry's name up there if nobody's sponsored that.
If he pushes back, give him the spear in the west entrance.
Yeah.
We call it the Jerry Spear.
Yeah, whatever it is.
The Jerry family spear.
But we need that check, and we need it an hour from right now. So tell Jerry that he'll be instrumental in the success of the future of the program and all that, and let him know that when he and the family and his kids come in here, they'll see Jerry's name right there by the spear. It'll all be a lovely ceremony. It'll take place next month. We'll take the pictures. He can hand them out to his kids and put it on his Facebook. He'll be happy. All right, so we don't have that. That doesn't exist. There are some guys who could do that. There are some people who support this program who could easily do that. There are some people who support this program that tomorrow, if they wanted to, if they felt so inclined, could cut the check for the total part of the buyout. They can just say, all right, what is it? 50? Oh, I'll do it. I can't stand to look at this guy's face anymore. I'm doing it. So they're not completely devoid of those kinds of heavy hitters. They exist, but those guys are exhausted. They've been asked for a lot of money for a lot of projects simultaneous. They've had to help with the buyout of the other contracts from coaches who were dismissed, and then new coaches that were hired who were supposed to save Mike's bacon. You know, you can make an argument. We could bring this all the way back to what happened at the end of last year. There are people who believe that once you cede responsibility for the thing that you have done well that got you to the place where you became the head coach at Florida State, you're already fired. You've already screwed up beyond the point of any return. That the second you do the very thing that, meaning you give up the responsibility of the thing that got you hired to begin with, then you have already fired yourself. That then you're just kind of a clown that's paid a lot of money to not do anything. Like this whole idea of being a CEO coach, when you've been the coordinator, when you've been the play caller, A lot of people believe that doesn't work. I think that's not completely true. I don't think it's that concrete, that black and white. I don't think it's that way.
But what you do know is in this case it didn't, because nothing improved appreciably year over year, especially with the results that you have before you now. Because you would think that would mean that as we play, we're a little bit more detail sound, or recruiting is paid attention to at a higher level, or any number of quality control things would be the new reality because Mike has more time to spend on those quality control things. You hear that fundraising's never been better,
right.
You know, whatever it is. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like any of those things have materialized.
Well, so by the way, Tom, I think it works in reverse, though. I think if you come in that way, if you are a CEO coach, you're brought in as that guy who has done that before somewhere else, and you're not the primary play caller on offense or defense, and you come in and oversee the organization where you've already done that and had success as a CEO coach, you can do it. I think that the argument that some of the people would posit now are that if you weren't that and you were a young and up-and-coming, well-thought-of coordinator and you took that skill and applied it as a head coach and then had to relinquish it because you failed, that this role does not fit, does not work long-term for you. It doesn't really matter. This is just a debate about how we got here. Who cares? We're here. He's failing. They lose. Every ACC game they play, they lose. It doesn't matter. The worst team in the league, the best team in the league, they lose.
And they're going to let him run out of that tunnel again, and they're going to let him coach these players who already told you what they think about him this past Saturday night.
Yes.
They left no doubt about how they felt about him and the leadership of this group, the coaching staff. They played as flat as a pancake the whole night. It wasn't some phenomenon of, well, they played a good first quarter. No, man, they look like crap from the word go. And yet the reward is you get to do it again against Wake. I told you I'm offended as a Florida State fan that they're allowing this to happen, that they're signaling at the very least that they're definitely going to let this happen. What about one of the players in the locker room that has followed him, that is disenfranchised at this point? You're going to blame that guy in this moment for playing without a full heart, with his eyes up, ready to climb? You're going to blame him if he doesn't want to hold his helmet in the air when they do whatever that, the unity walk or whatever before the game? It can't continue. I don't understand why this continues.
Again, I think it's because there's a tug of war for power and control of the next step. And I think there's a growing discontent with the athletic director. I've heard that before this game was ever played. There are both coaches and people that are very powerful, that give a lot of money to the program, that care deeply, that are entrenched, that are growing more and more disgruntled with Michael Alford. And it stems from a couple of things, but I think one of them is this viewpoint. I called it Pollyanna, this viewpoint that, the way these programs, the upper echelon programs, are running their football programs, most of the big-time operations are ignoring this idea that the NIL deals that they're working for their players have to be in line with a fair market value that is going to be viewed and approved by a committee. They're ignoring that completely. They're operating as if that's not a thing whatsoever, and they're getting around and skirting those rules. Whereas this athletic director believes that that is going to be enforceable, that those programs will be found out and punished.
So there'll be 10 teams that can legitimately win a title every year because everybody else is on probation?
Right. I don't think that it's a particularly wise way to view NIL. I think that there are people critical of the way he views NIL, period. Not just enforcement of these deals, but just NIL in general. That he hasn't been at the forefront, that he doesn't get it. I've heard that sentiment from people who care and are in position to do something about it. I don't know. I'm not there. I've never sat down and talked with Alford about NIL. I can't tell you that I know directly that he thinks this about NIL. I've just heard it said by disparate people within the program.
The issue I have is, let's say that we're sitting here next week and there's no resolution. Then I don't care who's trying to wrestle away power from whom. You've all failed. Because if you want that power and you have say above Michael Alford, then you issue the statement he's fired. the more we talk it out, the more I'm worried that it's a money issue and we're broke. That begins to get more momentum in my brain, because if you want the credit for firing him and you're not Michael Alford, then take the credit, put your name underneath it, and release it, and then fire Alford and be done with it.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that there's any one person that has said, I want the power, I'll make the decision. I think that there are decision makers who want to be on the same page, who want to know what's the path forward. How are we going to execute a plan? Before we give any more money and before we hire another coach, how does our athletic department run top down? What are we looking to change? Because this isn't working. What are we attempting to do? And those players, those people all have a say. They just are trying to get on the same page. I don't think this is an egomaniacal thing. I mean, I'm sure it is with everybody who's got a lot of money. Everybody's got an ego at that point. But I don't think it's that, hey, I want to be the guy that gets the credit for the firing and the hiring. I want to be the one who makes this decision. There are very few of those guys that have that, wield that kind of authority. I think Peter Collins would be one of them. But I think it's more about getting an alignment and understanding.
I think that's perfectly reasonable, as we all want this university to be in a place where it succeeds on all levels, including the athletic department, for 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years. I'm here for all of that discussion. But I would think, let's just say that those power brokers number 12 or 15 or 20 people. In that
neighborhood, yeah.
I think if you had a quorum of those folks in a room or on a Zoom, that he said, we can all agree that Mike needs to go, right?
Well, and I wonder, so I said before that if you walk around the stadium, you walk around the locker rooms, you walk around the places that have the statues, that have the plaques, that have the buildings, you'll see exactly who is in control of the finances and who is influential at this university. If you look around, you'll see those things, right? The Langford family, we talk about Peter Collins, we talked about the Atlanta and Tampa Mafias, if you will, as they're known. I've talked about the Allen Flamenhoffs. I've talked about Mike Harrell. I've talked about Brian Murphy. I've talked about Jim Owens. I've talked about, these are the guys. These are, and there are others, but these are the guys. And, oh, sorry. I just realized you wanted me to go look at the chat. Florida State football, Warchant TV, in plainer words, are big money boosters withholding commitment of buyout funds in order to enact changes in the administration. Well, that's kind of what I'm alluding to. I don't know that they're sitting around actively saying, I will not give you this money. But I think they're saying, I want some assurances that we're not going to be right back here doing this again 6 years from now, 7 years from now. And I think some changes do need to be made, and I think we need to come to an agreement of what that looks like. And I think if you've asked somebody for 10, 20, 30, $40 million, they have a right to say it. I think that they would be foolish not to say, look, man, this feels like we're not as buttoned up as we need to be, and I love my university, and I care deeply. Can we talk? Because that would explain the delay.
Sure. And there's
and if there are multiple people like that, Tom, then they're busy people.
There's a comment to that end on Facebook from Kyle. It comes down to this: the money people don't have faith in the AD. If it's that simple, then there's a simple answer for that as a second layer here. And I know that's what you've been talking about, a reorganization. But I think you're speaking on a grander scale of new athletic director, give him the keys. You're thinking about defining terms as you set the course, if there is a change at that level. But what I don't understand in this case is, even if you didn't have faith in the athletic director, let's just allow for that to be true in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And you're the board of trustees chair, the president, or power brokers.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for those people because none of them have said to me, I don't believe in this athletic director, but some of their actions suggest to me that is so.
Okay. But just assuming that for just a moment, typically if you're going to fire the GM, you have them go fire the coach first. If it's a professional organization,
correct.
You know what I mean? You like listening to Sampson and his thoughts and what he's done before in professional sports. An owner in that moment would go, all right, you go fire him, and then you come back here and we're going to have a discussion about your severance package.
Right.
But you're going to go fire him because you're tied to that person.
Yeah.
That's where it just gets a little murky here. there has to be something extra going on. Either we don't have the money or there's something else going on, because it just...
I mean, that money's not nothing. It is a massive sum of money. And I think you want to know exactly how you're going to get it, how you're going to procure it, how much it is. I mean, I would like to believe, this is wishful thinking on my part, I believe. I would like to believe they're trying to negotiate a buyout that is far less than the money they would owe if they fire him today. Okay. And then your retort, and anybody else's who hears that, would be, well, how are they going to do that? Because most coaches don't voluntarily give back money and walk away from money. Right. But we don't know all the circumstances that would lead one to think that they could be involved in that negotiation.
Fair. And that as we discussed this in the first hour, that was, I think, the thing that we were discussing more as a working theory here. But this is much like when Mike Norvell walks into a press conference with a shiner under his eye and doesn't explain why the shiner is there. If this is the decision that you're setting for between now and the end of the Florida game, and that's what you've decided to share with the public today, this is what you're inviting. And you know that when you release the statement, this is what you're inviting is, well, why? Why wouldn't they just do it in the moment? You're allowing for that speculation, rampant as it is, with 3 or 4 leading theories as to why.
Yeah, and
because he's not coming back next year, right? Right? Can we all, Michael Alford, right?
No, there's no chance he comes back next year. I mean,
what if the comprehensive assessment yields a report that says that maybe he should come back for another year?
Right. Can you imagine the comprehensive assessment, and they're looking at the papers and they go, oh, there it is, fellas. Look at this. It's right here. Second paragraph. We've not been the thermometer at night. It's 72. Who's been putting this thing at 69? Guys, it's that simple. No, there's no, what are they going to do?
You know, Mike, I think we're going to fire you unless you want to hear me out on this note. Ready? Afternoon practices in the fall. What do you think? What do you think?
That's what it is.
Afternoon, 2 o'clock starts. 2 o'clock, heat of the day. Huh? I just can't do that. Okay, Mike.
Well, you've signed your death warrant. What do you want me to do? I tried.
You want to die for morning practices. You're a man of principle. All right, Mike.
Right.
Well, we appreciate your time.
Take care. No, I think that the conversation, man, we could write an entire sitcom with this. What have you seen? What has anybody seen from Coach Norvell this year with this team? I mean, certainly not the last 4 games. That tells you they're going to win the remaining games. I keep hearing people and others say, well, maybe they think he'll get it turned around during the bye week. What? There is no evidence at all. Nothing about what you're witnessing. This is getting worse each week, not better.
Stanford was the better team on Saturday.
Well.
Stanford was the better team.
Right. When you lose to Virginia, you say, okay, that's not a terrible Virginia team. They found their quarterback on the road at night, turned it over early on the 5-yard line. Okay, these things happen. Miami, from a talent standpoint, is just a much better team than you. Sadly, that's another discussion, but they are, so it's defensible that you lost that game. Then you lose to a freshman, a true freshman, who comes in here and is not made to be uncomfortable in the slightest, and you lose to Pitt. Fine. Even if you want to say, Pitt's better than you think. Pitt's better than you think. And that may be true, by the way. They may be better than you think. Stanford isn't. Stanford's not better than you think. Stanford sucks. And your effort against Stanford is dreadful. There's no explaining this away. It's not getting better. It's also part of a 9-game losing streak in the ACC. 9. There is no reason to suggest that anything will get better by waiting. So there's got to be a different reason.
He has a good game plan for Wake. He's got a good plan.
Hear me out, Mike. I know you want to listen to this. Let me show you. We're going to kill him. There's nothing. It is unrecognizable what's happening at Florida State. It really is. It's the weirdest place to be to watch this. You want to throw your hands in the air. It doesn't make for good radio, and it's very, very aggravating. I wish I had a very specific reason where I could come in and say, well, here's what happened. It was at noon on Wednesday. You wouldn't believe it. But this is what occurred, and what are you going to do?
We were in one world at 11:59. The next minute, different world completely.
Matt Lacerra set to join us next. We'll get a sense of this disaster and what it's doing to recruiting. We'll ask him anyhow. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Hey man, have you heard the sound? It's Alford Jewelry's the best in town. For rings, diamonds, earrings, bracelets, and more. It's Alford Jewelry Store.
When was the last time you randomly did something nice for someone that means a lot to you? Now, I say this every day at the end of my show for everybody to be a better person today than you were yesterday. Well, one way to do that is to drop into Pentalpha and get a gift for someone who deserves it. It'll brighten their day, their week, maybe even their year. You don't have to wait for a holiday or special occasion, so don't wait to go check out a true local gem serving Tallahassee since 1988. Now, sing along with me, and I'll see you at Pentalpha.
Pentalpha Jewelry, Pentalpha Jewelry, Pentalpha Jewelry, home of the real nice guys.
Hi, Chris Kraft for the Kraft Brothers Auto Dealerships. This Halloween season, guess who will be truly frightened? People that sell Toyotas and Hondas, that's who. They are scared to death of Nissan's 2026 lineup. The reports are in. J.D. Power published their 2025 report, and Nissan was #1 in new vehicle quality among all mainstream brands. Let me say that again. Nissan, not Toyota, was #1 in new vehicle quality among all mainstream brands. Nissan Murano was tops for reliability in the midsize SUV category. Nissan Kicks takes the top spot in the small SUV category. In the quality and reliability ratings, both Nissan Sentra and Altima lead the pack. And this will scare them even more. Buy any 2025 Nissan Rogue, Murano, or Pathfinder and get 0% interest for 60 months and up to $5,000 in customer cash back. So you see, in the midst of Halloween season, just like the rest of the year, Tallahassee is not a scary town. It's a Nissan town. Kraft Nissan, Tallahassee.
Looking to upgrade your backyard, your business, or even your life? Then you've got to check out Southeast Portable Buildings right here in Tallahassee.
That's right. Southeast Portable Buildings has everything: sheds, cabins, carports, and now beautiful decks to go with them.
Imagine a brand new storage building and a deck out front. Perfect for that morning coffee or for your family gatherings.
Need something custom? No problem. They'll work with you to find exactly what fits your needs. Big or small, simple or stylish.
And with easy financing options, you can make your dream space happen sooner than you think.
Southeast Portable Buildings, where you're not just getting a building, you're getting a lifestyle upgrade. Give our friends a call today, 850-580-6400. That's 850-580-6400.
Southeast Portable Buildings.
Big buildings.
Big decks.
Big dreams.
Southeast Portable Buildings on West Tennessee Street, just north of Capitol Circle in Tallahassee.
Love to compete on the dartboard? Then it's time to head to the CP. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill is Tallahassee's premier dart bar, featuring steel tip boards and soft tip internet play. The Corner Pocket hosts leagues and tournaments regularly. Just check out their social media to find a time that works for you. And in between games, grab a pint and a bite in the cool AC, or enjoy yourself outside on the deck. Whether you want to catch a game or start one of your own, the place to be is the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachian Parkway. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
We all have that friend. Great job, great smile, great heart,
and still somehow single. I'm Dana Brooks of Face It Brooks Law Offices. At the Meet Cute at the Monroe, it's your turn to brag about them. Step up, grab the mic, and tell us why your single friend is the total package.
It's Meet Cute at the Monroe, Sunday, October 20th, starting at 2 p.m.
The Meet Cute at the Monroe, the event your single friends didn't know they needed.
Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Going to be joined here in just a moment by recruiting analyst and staff reporter, our good buddy Matt Lasser of Warchant.com. Before we do that, let's do this. Let's make sure you're well aware of options that you have at Above and Beyond VR.com, and the many wonderful properties that they have. Might I interest you? Go ahead, cue it up.
Above and Beyond. Above and Beyond. Above and Beyond.
Above
and Beyond.
727-253-5995. That's the phone number. Why don't you just go to aboveandbeyondvr.com so you can actually look at the properties and be wowed by that coastal bliss at Brightwater, huh? How about that? Or perhaps coastal condo elsewhere. How about the tiny home right there on the Pinellas Trail? A lot of cool places, a lot of options, a lot of moments, pools. 18 of those 30-plus properties have a pool. Others are right on the water, right on the Gulf, so you're in good shape there. Either way, whether you got like 30 people you need to house or 5 or 2, you're good to go.
Great savings for Thanksgiving weekend as well. 3 nights under $900. Thanksgiving weekend if you want to go down.
Apply that code, buddy. JCS. Let's see what it is.
$791. Friday check-ins, Monday check-out, and that would be in Dunedin. Minutes from the water and steps away from an outstanding downtown scene to watch a lot of college football, including our game against Florida.
Less than $800.
Not too bad at all.
And you need escapism there because you're watching the game against Florida and we're down 21 in the first quarter. You just go wander the trail. You have some cold ones. You're good to go.
We have a couple of stays coming up for us in terms of working with ABVR. And I think, as much as I like the beach, I think Dunedin is the route that I'm going to go because I really want to check out Main Street.
Yeah, in November, that would seem right. That would be understandable.
Even December, man.
Aboveandbeyondvr.com. Make sure you use the promo code JCS, aboveandbeyondvr.com. Oh, we got to use a player. We got to pick a player. I got mine.
I know you do. Go for it.
Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
Kind of easy. What'd he do, Jeff? I don't know. He hit 3 home runs in an NLCS game, also pitched 6 1/3 shutout inning, struck out the side in the top of the first, and then hit a bomb to straightaway center in the bottom of the first. That's the kind of stuff that, nobody in the history of baseball has ever done. Cool.
It's what Kennedy did for Texas Tech, except it's, in the National League Championship Series.
It's ridiculous. It's awesome.
I'll be quick, but I got to stick with baseball and go Cal Raleigh because when they had to have it bottom of the 8th.
Again with the Cal Raleigh. It's unbelievable, this guy.
That launch angle is essentially a lob wedge.
To the moon.
Into the sky. A great call by Joe Davis. He's good at his job. I think Brian Anderson's better, but what a great call that was.
It was.
Did it have enough? And it does, and it's gone. He ties the game. The next 3 guys reach before they hit a grand slam to win the ball game and take a 3-2 series lead. Game 7 tonight, outstanding in Toronto, Seattle-Toronto. Cal Raleigh at the center of that Game 7.
Well, it's 7 o'clock, Game 7, 7 o'clock Bucks-Lions. It's a crazy time. 7 o'clock is going to be fun in Tallahassee on a Monday for anybody that cares about, sports. Good times.
Also, just a quick plug here, not intentionally a plug, but I was asked, Tom, I'm serious, please, on Twitter. They want to know where this hoodie was from. You go to Garnet and Gold.
Of course you can go to Garnet and Gold, always.
Home Field Apparel makes this, but they have Home Field Apparel at Garnet and Gold. So you go to Garnet and Gold.
I think Tara's going to be mad at me. I actually realized I've got 2 or 3 new things from Garnet and Gold that I need to get, and I've already called in favors to get my other gear. I want more gear, Tara. You can be mad at me, but I love you, and I love Garnet and Gold. And I will continue to do the right thing by Garnet and Gold and celebrate the greatness. But I do need 2 or 3.
There's a 94.7% chance she's listening right now, and you'll catch a text. So, yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
Of course you didn't.
I was not aware of that.
There's your answer, listener. Sorry about that. He's on Twitter. I can't find his name now. But, yeah, Garnet and Gold.
Matt Lasser joins us on the Jeff Cameron Show. I just told you who he is. He's here with us on staff, of course, doing a great job with recruiting and everything else under the sun. Hey, Matt, how are you, buddy?
Good, man. How are you? You need a drink yet after the show, or is that coming? Feels like it.
It's Monday. I try to keep it together on a Monday, but I don't know. We got such a good sports night. Who knows, right? It's a thing of beauty. 7:00. Hey, by the way, so I would also say this, Matt. You and I are both big golf guys. Did you have a chance to sneak around when Charlie was in town and see how that visit went? Because I was under the impression that Mom might have been there as well, and I think we all would like to see Mom.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I never saw him. I'm up at Seminole Legacy a lot, but I did never see him. But I heard he was here. But that's about all I got. I think. Look, and Miles Russell was here too, so maybe he was doing some recruiting for the golf side of things. That'd be cool to see. Get Charlie on board, and you know what? This NIL might explode.
Charlie Woods and Russell, and then Tiger makes a visit. We're doing some things. Let's go.
We are.
All right, buddy. I'm just going to ask you big picture stuff. How are these kids handling this recent slide, to say the least, from Florida State? What's the state of the recruiting with the kids?
It's weird because there's probably really two sides to this coin that are really completely different, and it's weird to kind of navigate. The kids themselves are going to say the right things. No matter what, they don't like to be viewed in a negative context. They don't want fan bases at them on Twitter, all that kind of stuff, right? But so I was asking kids what their reaction was to Alford's statement saying they're fully committed to Norvell, and the kids are obviously happy about it because they committed to Norvell. You don't as much as we like to say you commit to a school nowadays. No, you're committing to the staff. The people make the place. So you got a lot of kids who are happy about that. Reading one, I have a whole thread up on the recruiting board. Sean Johnson commits, and I'm glad they're keeping Norvell. He's a big reason why I committed to FSU, and I think he's a great coach in person. In general, wins and losses aren't do or die in recruiting unless you're really good or you're really bad. And right now we're teetering on the really bad, and we could see a floodgate open. But right now that floodgate has not opened yet. And the second side of this coin is all the NIL stuff.
Okay, so I'll go straight there. Thank you. Yeah. You led me down the path. I will drink the water. What's the plan? What's the plan? They got to be. We know some of the same people, but I'm just saying big picture here. What is the plan right now? They got to be hemorrhaging. This is awful.
Yeah, it doesn't take a genius to figure out there's going to be no money. That's where we're really at. People are understandably cutting their funds or to boosters, to the collective, and that's going to make it tough. Because if you look at this with Norvell here still, and I said this before the Stanford game, it was more contingent on winning that game, but obviously that didn't happen. With Billy being gone, you have a full list of recruits from UF that you can go try to get, and that you could somehow pull a top 10 class out of your butt for the first time ever, right? That's a positive outlook. But the other side of it is you're not going to have the funds to really do that, right? I can't sit here and say Norvell can get all these kids off the UF commit list when we all know what recruiting comes down to, and I don't think it's possible. And I before the Stanford win, before the Stanford loss, I thought, there was a chance here that Hughes could be recruiting for his job and do this for the first time. And that would be, because that's been the knock on Norvell's whole tenure at Florida State, is that he can't recruit. And this would be the time he could save himself from that, just because you could have Carson Baker, Caden Hall, Hezzy Kent, those other guys who maybe you were a little bit involved in and could get back in with and completely turn it around if you win against Stanford and you're still here. But that's not looking like the case. There's just not going to be the funding there because you can't, let's be honest, we know they're not going to be able to fund a roster with him still being here.
No, they won't. That is correct. And it's brutal. I know the kids are saying the right things. Real quick on that front, you just mentioned it. I think I got my answer, but do you believe them?
To an extent, I would say. I believe that they like Norvell, and this has never been about Norvell being a bad person or a bad guy. They connect with the personality of Norvell. I think we all agree that Norvell is a good guy, and from a personality standpoint, we all like him, and the kids agree with that. And that's big a part when you commit to somebody, right? We always say it's all money now, but relationships are still a part of it. You can get a discount off of relationships. that is how things work, right? That's how Luke Laux has done well in recruiting, is because he is a great relationship guy, and you have the NBA connections of developing, is that you can take a pay cut. Norvell, you can't take a pay cut now. That's the truth of it, right? Like, I believe that they like Norvell as a person, and I believe that they committed to Norvell. But at the end of the day, you have to start looking at your options. You don't have a choice. Like, if you're not, what are you doing?
It's the bye week. Normally, they would hit the ground running. They would go after it hard in recruiting now. What's that going to look like?
I would think that stays the same. It's been hard to do checking on that with the way that this has been crazy morning, right? I would assume that everything goes business as usual until anything changes. There's no reason to think it wouldn't, right? It's just a weird time of, you have to keep working until something changes, like until there's something different happens. And we all thought that was going to come this morning, and seems like it's not. Or we know.
Hang in there, brother. Thanks for doing the good work, man. We appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon, and we'll talk often. Yeah, be good, brother.
Yeah, hey, maybe quarter pocket tonight. I think we all need drinks.
Oh, man. CP on a Monday. That place has tentacles. You can't do it.
It does.
I mean, I'm not saying you can't do it out there, but we get drawn into Bill's trap.
And Matt could do it better than we could because he has a younger constitution to handle such things. I could speak from experience in most of my 20s being at corner pocket. If it wasn't Port Paul's, it was corner pocket. And so, yeah, feel free. That 7 o'clock window of sports is excellent. And you do get a second, not great, but you get a second Monday Night Football game starting at 10 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
That would be the thing that does it. So you'd say, all right, I'll watch the first quarter of this 10 o'clock. And next thing you know,
it's good.
It's good. And you're deep into the third quarter going, oh, my God.
I can't go to bed.
It's 12:42, and I'm still here. I got here 6 hours ago.
Yes, because Houston-Seattle has a chance to be good. I've already thought about it. We could be sitting there looking at 17 all going, damn, all right, we got us a good one. It's like the other night when I watched that damn Pittsburgh game.
That game was great.
It was an incredible game.
Dunk Bowl.
I was like, this is awesome. Back and forth we go. Flacco. Rodgers. Pow, pow, just flinging it. Yeah.
Sounds like the kids, you would still get quite a few yeses on signing day if Mike was the head coach on signing day, but you don't have the money to spend on, adding to players. The kids that you would keep would be more expensive.
Yeah, but we're talking like they're not going to lose more games and look dumber.
Of course.
I mean, come on.
I'm not speaking as though it's a viable thing. I'm just saying that based on that report, some kids would be ride or die with Mike Norvell, especially because we'd be willing to up the ante a little bit financially.
I want to go back to something here real quick. I really did. I mean, I said this before. Watching the end of the Stanford game, you guys did the watch along. Watching the end of the Stanford game, I had my opinion that he was in. I think it was pretty obvious that he was in. We haven't even really broken down the game itself because it was so absurd. But there you were. You found yourself in this crazy position where you could force the game into overtime and win it. Hell, I wonder if we had been granted the touchdown there, would we have gone for 2? We were the lesser team that night.
I was thinking, as we were getting the punt, I was thinking we should go for 2 if we score.
I was laughing about the fact that I had to even consider that.
Even the insanity of the Danzy catch. We're not going to get up to the line of scrimmage, but we got bailed out the way that LSU did in the Superdome. Like, well, you're going to get an extra play out of this.
Yes.
And then you get the PI to boot. You're going to go for 2 in that situation. I think 100% he goes for 2. If he played for overtime, I would have shut off the stream.
I don't know at that point. No, but I think, Tom, you would have had all the momentum because they were in shock. They were about to blow that game.
We can't do this. It would have been, you would have ended the game at 3 a.m. No.
Well, the bottom line is, the point is that I didn't even care. I mean, I say that. I just couldn't believe we were in that position. And I knew once it went to review, they weren't going to give it to us because of the call on the field. It was evident to everybody, including Stanford, that he was in. But it doesn't matter. I mean, again, I had already.
And the fact that it doesn't matter is
that's the point. That's why I was so upset. That's why I tweeted what I did, but at the time that I did. I was just like, this is over. It doesn't matter. I even said F off. I was that mad. I was just like, I'm done. I'm done. You're done. You're dead to me. And the thing of it is, too, at the end, I do feel bad for Mike in a way. I do think there were some headwinds that he didn't. There were some things that he didn't cause that he's had to overcome that not a lot of people do. People always misconstrue when I talk about things like how he gets here and COVID hits him. And people will be like, well, Mike isn't the only one who had to deal with COVID. Mike had to deal with COVID as a first-year new hire head coach. He did not get a chance to take advantage of the momentum and new car smells that comes with being a new coach. If you're already established at that time, you didn't have to deal with that same sort of thing because you had built relationships. You had met the high school coaches. You've been able to travel throughout the state. He didn't get that.
And that's all fair. But you were 48 and I was 33
No,
when he wasn't catching those headwinds. Man, that's a long time ago.
Agreed. No, too much time and too many losses have since come and gone. I agree. I mean, like I said last year, I would fire him at 2-10. I would not be bringing him back. You cannot go 2-10 here. You cannot. It is not allowable. You are fired. That's what I would have said. Sorry. Sucks. Have a good one. Best of luck to you down the road.
What's crazy is I think you would actually get more entertainment value in a sick way, of course, if you were ranking his 5 best losses versus his 5 best wins.
Jacksonville State is number 1.
Right.
Is this number 2?
This or Duke?
This is a toughie.
How about Memphis? The program that you left.
Oh, yeah. Rolling back in
standing.
Here. He can go back to Memphis. Memphis lost over the weekend. USF is in the driver's seat, everybody.
I know. Yeah, he couldn't get Golesh. You can't pry him away from the playoff.
The funny thing about Golesh is that I like him and I think he's done a good job. I don't like that BS Tennessee offense that he runs.
I'm glad you're consistent on that front because you had a statement, quite the statement yesterday in bellying up. I'm like, well, then I guess you got on Golesh.
Yeah, I don't like, yeah. Well, I don't. Hey, listen, I hate our offense. This offense is trash. Hate it. I don't care about those empty-ass numbers. Ridiculous. Oh, got to keep watching it. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
The Florida Gaming Control Commission arrested Penn Arcade cashier Patrick Brown last week for various gambling charges after they searched his establishment. He was arrested by FGCC members after they conducted a search of Penn Arcade, located at 2047 West Pensacola Street. The search of the arcade found 43 stand-up slot machines and 19 classic-style CPU slot machines. Brown was taken to the Leon County Detention Facility by TPD following his arrest. Brown's bond was set at $32,500. And he bonded out. A temporary road closure of South Calhoun, South Gadsden, and East Jefferson Streets is expected to take effect next week, starting Monday through Wednesday from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. nightly. The closure will be in effect for the removal of fencing and walls adjacent to Washington Square as part of the Washington Square right-of-way restoration. This is Rachel Anay with Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
Now, here's your Tallahassee weather report.
From the ABC 27 First to Know Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Ryan Gold. A very comfortable and sunny lunch hour for us today. Temperatures will be in the low 80s and upper 70s. By the time we head home from work today, we will still be very comfortable with temperatures remaining in the low 80s. From the ABC 27 First to Know Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Ryan Gold.
Did you know that the survivability of a metal roof far exceeds that of a traditional shingle roof? At Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee, we have a brand new state-of-the-art roll former that produces the highest quality VersaPanel, PVR, and standing seam options. And we will guarantee to match or beat any local competitor's pricing. We're a family-owned business ready to offer you the very best sales and installation service in the area. And don't forget about our veterans and first responders discounts. Call Metal Roofing Sales today at 850-536-9123 or online at metalroofingsales.net.
Hey, let me tell you about my friends at Tried and True Consulting, a Seminole-owned business that specializes in payments and business solutions. Tried and True's core expertise includes card, ACH, point of sale, mobile, e-commerce, and hosted payment solutions. Tried and True will help you reduce costs and increase your bottom line. That always sounds nice. Whether you're a retailer, restaurant, licensed professional, or service industry, Tried and True is saving you money. Tried and True's expertise extends to payroll, video menu ad boards, IT services, web design, and social media. It's time to make one call and tell the competition to take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 844-464-6653. When you do business with Tried and contribute 10% of the net revenue to the battle's end. So go tried and true today. Call 844-464-6653.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
All right, let's get to, I have largely ignored the chat, and just because we've had, a show to conduct, but there have been a lot of you that were kind and contributed and offered up questions and all of that. So let's get to all these here late in the show. Dan writes, Dan became a new YouTube member, and we say congrats. Good job, Dan. Tony, Jeff talked about big picture in the program, but that could happen without Norvell as the head coach. 10/20/25, rest in peace. The day FSU died and the AD told the world we do not care about big boy football. I think a lot of people share your sentiment, Tony. There's a lot of people who take the inaction to mean exactly what you just said. I don't know that I completely concur, but I understand the sentiment. Next. Right. If the mocking Norvell rumor is true, I'm really worried about the team quitting on the season. Do you agree? Just don't want this to get ugly. Shake my head. It's already ugly, right, and I do think it has a chance to get uglier. I am concerned about it. There's a chance. You can argue there's a chance we don't win another game.
And you should be on sideline watch for stuff like that moving forward if you don't make the change. There was already an incident on Saturday.
Yes. No, it's a problem. It's a problem. Sydney Sweeney fan club, and they're getting rid of MA2. Do we not have the money? WTF is going on, guys? Well, the Alford thing is a speculative thing on my part that I think that he could be in trouble, and I do think there's an element of that here. I think that I know for a fact there are very powerful people, including coaches and certain money people, that are out on Alford. Well, close to being out on Alford.
Have him on the outs. Different than being out on.
Yeah. Be careful there. Yeah. Matt writes, can we give Mike's sorry ass a big fake check like the hippie guy in Semi-Pro? I think that was just sent as an excuse to be able to say Mike's sorry ass. That's what that was. Sydney Sweeney fan club, dip back in the pool. Why is this just coming out about Alford now? WTF. Well, okay, so this actually follows a timeline. It started with a couple of people beginning to voice their concerns that his view of NIL and the future of college football and how rosters are taken care of, and really in all sports, that it was naive. And people didn't like that. But we were not hearing a bunch of powerful people say that, just a few. And everything gets expedited when you have a moment of crisis like this, where now everything's accelerated. And so what happens is a lot of people begin to reach out to a lot of other people, and those people voice similar concerns in certain circles. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh, wait a minute. It wasn't just that day that I was talking to so-and-so and they had that concern. It appears that this guy has that concern, and this woman has that concern, and this man who's very influential has that concern, and that's a guy that I know gives big money. So there are 7, 8 people who have the same concern, and they're all influential people. This is how you begin to find out that all is not okay and all is not well over at Florida State. Colby writes, James Franklin with Moorhead as OC and Pry as DC, get them pretty cheap these days. Yeah. Oh, listen, have fun with this, guys. Start doing it. Noel Gal became a YouTube member. Good job, Noel Gal. Nicholas, that's a cute picture of a koala. I love Mike Norvell as a person. He truly does care about this program and the players that he brings in. But unfortunately, his lack of recruiting has hurt us. Also, Jimbo Fisher is not the answer. All right, fair enough, Nicholas. There you go.
2 Live wrote this one fast.
So I'm going to have to read this, and I'm going to have to decipher this. Thank you, 2 Live. What about this coach is winning the can you do this?
What about this coach is winning the big game consistently? Ryan Day will lose to Michigan at any point. Dan Lanning, we're still waiting at Oregon. to get to the chip level, the championship. Kirby, yes, but he's 1-7 against Bama. Franklin gives you a shot.
Yeah, I think Franklin does give you a shot. I don't have a problem with Franklin in that way. I think that he is a program builder, and you raise your floor significantly. He would recruit really well, and you get an angry version of him with a chip on his shoulder. It might not be a bad thing. Barron writes, Jeff, now is the time to get the Garnet Room up and running. Let's fill that sucker out. 90% of the proceeds will go towards Mike's buyout. Go Noles. Dang it, man. Yeah, that's a toughie.
Good old Garnet Room.
Mm-hmm. Nick says, I think we really need to comprehend that hiring Jimbo may be the move. He already lives in Tallahassee, and he can recruit, and we can get him for cheap. Didn't like how he left either, but we got to move on. Well, but that's not moving on. That's going back. And also, did we not see that it didn't work out at Texas A&M? Noel Kev writes, Noles in their mess, Falcons lose, Lightning giving away games. Times are tough. Now FSU administration making me feel like an a-hole for wanting to move on from Mike, like I'm being unreasonable. Oh, no, you're not being unreasonable, everybody. I think it's almost universal now. Last one, is it? Seth writes, could the play be this? Make Mike come out to the chorus of boos and wear it. Then Mike will say, pay me blank reduced amount and I'm out. Maybe, but I don't know too many coaches that walk away from millions and millions of dollars just for feeling uncomfortable under the rain of booze. Brock writes, bellying up yesterday was the best therapy I needed from Saturday. Thank you, Brock. It was cathartic for us to do as well.
And we recorded it from the Garnet Room. Very, very comfortable.
Good work, sir. Be well. Have a great night. Monday Smash? No Monday Smash night.
Irish traveling.
Flying. He's flying.
We'll
That's
do one
right.
later this week.
Yeah. Take care, everybody. Peace. Thanks for hanging in there.